is the new chapter in Contenders.
All these different teams are going to have actually kind of their own identity. The start of this season gives me so much hope for the rest of the year.
Especially against the Doomfist as legendary as Danade. Getting the one up on them in the Doomfist differential is definitely a big boon here for Backbone.
Ultraviolet with the Ant Matrix.
Ultraviolet playing Aim Trainer with his burst. The Baby Diva kills both for DPS.
Ryder with the double.
I am in absolute awe.
So Odyssey might want to call a push here.
That's Blue Camino's. Oh my, Ultraviolet popped the trance, ran it into Sigma. What a play from Ultraviolet.
I'm watching Sigma to see where this pulse bomb can go, and you don't even need it. All you gotta do is depend on Sigma, because he makes a movie out of Overwatch.
When Speedily turns 18, bidding war.
That is the Speedily diff.
Seeker here, doing a lot of damage, and Seeker's someone who we definitely have to highlight.
Seeker killed both of them.
Every single member of his team right now is doing what they need to do. They are popping off perfectly.
There are no more second chances.
Fuki right here, if I could get a bit. Oh, it's a nut splash!
Oh my
into a big
God.
slap.
British Hurricane have not ascended to godhood yet. Hell, double fire strike on the Solar and Hades.
We've got a series on our hands.
Whoa, the double move! Oh, gee!
EXO was never supposed to be here, and yet here they are.
Having to do that insane lower bracket run, a little greedy for my...
If you thought this was not going to go down to the very wire, well, you were dead wrong.
Hello and welcome everybody to the final day of the April tournament, Overwatch Contenders North America. This is leg day. I'm Lemon Kiwi. We'll be guiding you through all the action of our final two matches up to bat. And speaking of which, got American Tornado versus Odyssey, the rematch. I mean, the millionth rematch that we've all been waiting for.
Yeah, these guys have clashed multiple times throughout their histories, Lemon, but we've already wrapped up EU. It was an upset. I think it's fair to say that New Kings managed to walk away with the title in Europe, and it feels like right now in the entirety of Overwatch, Lemon, the flavor of the day is upsets. We have people like the San Francisco Shock and the Houston Outlaws, which feels weird to say, not going to Hawaii to represent the Western Conference, and we don't have British Hurricane winning in Europe. American Tornado, they're in the losers bracket. And American Tornado, you guys need to understand that these guys are heavy favorites. They were supposed to be the best team in all of North America. They won the North American Gauntlet last year. They won the show match against British Hurricane in a nail-biting 4-3 series. And when you look at the names on this team, you can see exactly why they have so much prestige behind them. But that prestige has not been delivered upon recently.
Well, American Tornado, a second seed coming into this match after, well, they didn't lose a series in our last tournament up until the grand finals where they went up against Revival. It went to a game 7. I think we casted that leg day. We were tired. I bet those players were too. And Odyssey, they want to come back with a vengeance. They are our third seed, getting third place in our last tournament, and it was American Tornado, those suckers that knocked him out in the winners final, dropping down and then losing after that to Revival. So Odyssey want to prove that they're still the good kids on the block too, but a lot of people have been favoring American Tornado just because of how the scrim bucks have went between those two teams.
Yeah, the Scrim Bucks and, of course, the name value. Let's share some of those names with our audience at home. For any of you who may be unaware of this roster, I don't know where you've been, but you see some of these names like Speedily, like OG, like Ultraviolet. These guys are legends in North America. Ultraviolet right now, he is literally the Ultra version of Violet from San Francisco Shock. He has outpaced Violet on the rank ladder. I think he's about 4,700 SR right now, has 3 accounts in the top 10. Ultraviolet is not only a grinder, but also when it comes to professional play, he never lets you down. And you can see right there that the picture that he's chosen, his main hero is Anna. And that kind of reflects that American Tornado are one of a few teams in North America right now who actually opt into the double bubble, despite its near ubiquity in Overwatch League in both North America and Europe. A lot of teams have been very cautious about adopting that strategy.
And just adopting new players too. I mean, this isn't the same American Tornado from Tier 2 Drama Alert, seasons ago. They've since incorporated False, who's maybe had less experience compared to his fellow players, but I think has been fitting in those giant shoes that Kalusha's left behind. But there's also their opponents of Odyssey, who I think a year and a half ago, you wouldn't know any of these names. They've really began their careers last year, winning tournament after tournament during the double shield meta, and everyone thought, okay, maybe double shield, one tricks, blah, blah, blah. But then we're going into Rush, and they're still a top team. They are proving that they can adapt multiple things. They are not one tricks, and they've incorporated Sigma during Gauntlet, or after Gauntlet, where Sigma was discovered in Gauntlet, and he was a superstar tracer, but they're really hesitating on whether they want to play him because that's the only hero that Sigma plays is Tracer. I know that's a confusing statement.
Yeah, you guys have probably heard Sigma's name now and then if you frequent Reddit and people are asking, hey, who's Dallas going to pick up as a hit scan? A lot of people saying, oh, grab Sigma, just play Tracer all the time. Honestly, you're exactly right, Lemon. A year ago, you wouldn't really know any names on this team apart from maybe Rhino, because there was a little bit of mystique around some random 12, 13-year-old tearing up competitive queue as a tank. But this was literally like a trials team about a year ago. But these guys, over the last year, have consistently claimed names in competition that have made them a household name for North American competitive Overwatch. We've been doing a fantastic job of bringing it to more established teams, I think it's fair to say, with some unorthodox strategies. If you are a Soldier 76 fan, their hit scan DPS, Dove, is literally one of the only players who will consistently bring out a Soldier 76 in competitive play. If we go to Havana, expect it on third point, because he loves to bring it out there.
Well, let's take a look at the maps we might be seeing. We'll be starting with Havana. It's always control first. You guys know the deal. But say losers finals, it is still first to 3. Winner of this ticket to the grand finals cashed in, where that becomes a first to 4. And remember, the prize is on the line. $15,000 goes to first place, about $7,000 for second, third place $5,000. A lot of Skrilla on the line, and it's Busan that will be chosen by American Tornado first.
A significant chunk of change, Lemon, and when we go to Busan, we've got to think about what each particular geography lends itself to in terms of the compositions that are available. We might see a couple of Doomfists, especially on Mecha Base, and that brings us to a particular matchup, which is King versus Speedily, because King is a replacement. He's fresher to this roster more recently, and Speedily is a legend. He's only 16, 17, very young player, but when it comes to projectile DPS in North America, or just overall DPS in North America, Speedily is going to be the first name to mind for most people that you ask in the know. Went to Gauntlet in Seoul in 2019, I want to say, and did a very good job with XL2, taking out people who were rated consistently higher as full teams. And Speedly's Doomfist was a large part of that, was up there with people like Sparkle and Glister for the best Doomfist at the tournament. We are going to be starting off on Mecha Base. Speedily, right now, not opting into the Doomfist, but they are just in spawn, so they could be teleporting out and then moving over onto the Doomfist. But Dallas Fuel recently actually played the Symmetra on this point to quite excellent effect.
And let us know your predictions for this match. 1 for American Tornado, 2 for Odyssey, and use the hashtag Contenders 2021 on Twitter to be involved in the conversation. Maybe have your tweet featured. But yeah, King actually goes to the Tracer, and I think this might be good to go up against that Doomfist of Speedily, be able to chase him down once those cooldowns are used. But currently it's American Tornado with that high plat position. Odyssey have Rhino in position to maybe bowl through them, but didn't go unnoticed. First engagement from Speedily takes a dynamite to the face, and that should be a finish for Dove, who I thought Speedily was dead. I thought Dove was dead. Great heal so far. Ultraviolet down means Odyssey had the advantage.
Watch for those Zenyatta assists in the kill feed, Lemon. Where is that Discord orb going? Luke Mino won't be able to get an assist on that one. He's going to get the frag himself. King darting around, looking for a fruitful target, and Reiner's shield is falling perilously low. Now they're going to be the recipient of so much incoming damage, but will be able to disengage into the loving, tender caress of Ultraviolet to get himself healed up, while Odyssey get the first cap.
Well, once you hug Ultraviolet, he's going to be biting back when he has that Matrix up online soon. They're going back to High Ply, where they like to hang out at. Speedily might be chasing down a health pack, and Odyssey are keeping their distance, maybe having the stronger poke comp, especially with that Ashen. Oh, Speedily down early. American Tornado caught, deciding what do they want to do without him, and trying to maybe approach and close that gap against Odyssey. That's what a Reinhardt, especially a Reiner, would love to do as they go to the point. They bait Odyssey down right before the cap, as Odyssey almost at 30%. They chase down Rhino. There's a early Gravitic Flux and all the ultimates from American Tornado, but it just couldn't save them against the Gravitic Flux in the Bob combo from Odyssey. But the flip goes through only for 7%. Odyssey back in the driver's seat.
A lack of respect there for Vulcan. The Immortality Field and the Sound Barrier overlapped, and when Vulcan saw both of those, all of his Christmases had come at once. With everyone grouped up tightly, it was a big Gravitic Flux, and the damage was simply too much to bear. Americans need to go for a full comp swap up right here. They want to take the long-range hit scan duel now. Ultraviolet will be supporting with that, but there's no ultimates compared to Odyssey's stacked-up support repertoire.
The mines just dropped right in the face of American Tornado. Meanwhile, Luke Mito was forced to use Trance. I wonder if that was because of the pressure from Reiner. As he gets a Discord put on him, Reiner disappears into the shadows, but Ultraviolet speedily disappear into the Shadow Realm. Rhino with a triple kill, going unnoticed for too long. This makes Odyssey not only win this fight, which I don't even know if you consider that a fight, but also they're up to 75% plus. We're in the last fight.
Rhino evidently been working on that tracking, getting a lot out of these machine cannons from the Wrecking Ball right here. King is going to be looking for an early stick, ideally onto either Ultraviolet or OG here, to give them the advantage they need as we move into potentially final fight.
King sends the pulse bomb, a critical pick onto OG, and Ultraviolet is low. Rhino finishing off the DPS who were scattered. Odyssey didn't even have to take a fight. Rhino is playing out of his mind today, as False might have to touch in overtime with that Gravitic Flux. Hydron doesn't have a health pack to use as a duel against King, who's almost full health. Odyssey, I don't think even broke a sweat. American Tornado need to warm up if they hope to go to the finals.
Odyssey are coming out here, Lemon, with a statement piece. They have only lost one person. They were one death away from a flawless round right there, and that was Rhino falling down. One elimination for American Tornado. Your Gauntlet champions. Your Battle of the West Kings. Slayers of British Hurricane in their prime, who many people thought would be inassailable as the emperors of North America, almost getting flawless. Only one kill. American Tornado. It's time to kind of mix and match their strategy again. Reiner moving over onto a Winston, going to be assisted by Speedly, healed up here by Ultraviolet. But remember, when you're going against a rush comp like Odyssey has, it's a race against time, because Ultraviolet can't counter-rotate forever because they don't have the speed boost.
This might be a composition American Tornado are more comfortable with, especially where Rhino doesn't have to keep his shield up the whole time. He can be part of the fight. He can close the gap. Bubble already used for American Tornado. Odyssey keeping this high ground. You don't actually want to go to the point first because you are on the low ground. American Tornado can sit up on the high ground and just spray down on your shields. So capping be important for Odyssey to do quickly and then get back to this exact position, or maybe take some damage too, so these Amp Matrix or the Nano can come online. Ultraviolet already so close to that Nano, and this is where it's going to be delivered to Reiner. Flashbang does miss. Hydron won't be caught out yet. A very quick blink will save him from that, as speedily shot down from the sky. Doesn't usually have that OG Mercy pocket, so no resurrecting that, as the Nano engagement from Reiner gets frozen up before he can complete his leap, and Rhino with the pin takes care of Reiner. I know that's going to be confusing. Luke Mito gets flanked by Hydron. Pulse Bomb misses by Hydron as well. Odyssey don't have a lot of heals with just a Lucio, but a Sound Bear might save them. Rack Attack will have that soon.
And a Deadeye reload at the back there. Still they are missing Luke Mito. Will take them a little bit to return to the frame. They could be caught out by Hydron attempting a spawn camp as that happens. Alas, still Rack Attack can keep their team in this with the Sound Barrier. Gets 5 people, and now they need to try and coalesce around Dove to save him, because he did get hit with that anti-nade.
That was a lot. Odyssey used 3 ultimates, a Sound Bear, the Amp Matrix, and a Blizzard to just counter the speedily duplicate who ended up throwing a Blizzard on their own. So American Tornado only bought so much space, and Reiner's still getting back. The Primal Rage could be in the cards, and Reiner gets the random hit on the Hydron through 3 people. I know Hydron's slamming his mouse right now. Odyssey still have control. they backed away, control of their own spawn. It's American Tornado that ended up flipping through all of that.
Rhino's now going to be in a much better position to try and mess with Odyssey's rotations here. Every method of ingress can be racked with the Tesla coil, especially if you've got this inherent high ground, so you don't have to invest a jump to get onto there. Rhino's going to be able to poke away. No access to the nano boost yet, though, and that is going to be somewhat worrying for his survivability.
Hydron Pulse. I'd like to deliver that special little envelope to Rack Attack. Throws the Pulse and it's Lucamino, but the Immortality just in time will save them, as they might want to use Amp Matrix to, well, they were hoping to stop American Tornado from pushing in. The Primal Rage to dislodge him from this room. Odyssey don't have a maze, so they have to play this so carefully as the Dove Deadeye, channeled until he was like 20 HP, still finds Hydron as a self-destruct from Vulcan to buy themselves back to space where Speedily didn't have the wings to escape. Now you have the Amp Matrix placed mid. Dove gets hit by a bio, but that doesn't stop him. Odyssey with enough damage. Shred through the tanks. Even through the OG rally. Odyssey will go to the point and get a flip.
Odyssey's disengage and rearguard plays thus far have been absolutely crucial. They don't allow for Speedly or Rhino to close that distance easily. Lucamino going down does make this a worrisome scenario for Odyssey, but they still have access to that sound barrier. They can still have the emergency engagement, and they're going to cash it in now.
Well, it starts with the Echo. Speedily always goes for the May for some reason. Thinks the Blizzard is just as good as any tank. Ult to clear some space, freezes up Rhino, already back to his Echo form. And the Odyssey tank's getting blown up at this point. As even actually a Blizzard from King slowed down the tanks from American Tornado. So I think as the dust clears, this can be anyone's game. A 78% for American Tornado. They're trying to hold on, but Odyssey will now be taking a lead.
That entire time limit, it was in the control of Odyssey. That's the bonus they got from taking out Rhino first. Without a main tank to hold that space for you, Odyssey was easily able to flip it over. And now they stand one fight away from claiming our first map and going a map up against who many people would consider the favorite in American Tornado. No real resources on deck right now for Tornado. They almost have themselves a nano boost.
So replay of that last fight. Just kidding. Odyssey are on the high ground. Shatter 99%. Overtime started by American Tornado. Probably Hydron. There's a Shatter blocked by OG Shield. And he's so happy he got that right up. Pin on the Rhino. Gets him dangerously low. He's frozen, but still able to use the Primal Rage as Hydron finished off the backline. And Ryder deals with the front. Now booping off these last members of Odyssey. American Tornado are getting closer to 100%. Odyssey have to think, how are they going to start overtime? Can they even get there?
They might be able to force out the early immortality field as well. Hydron almost has this pulse bomb. It will be absolutely critical if you get rid of an early support. Remember, Speedly can descend from the heavens with a duplicate to do so much additional damage and get an ultimate. Especially a minefield would be great for locking down that point, but they're not going to have the option.
Yeah, a 6 versus 4 and Speedily's like, thank you for going Doomfist King. I've always wanted to play this hero.
I love this one.
That's my favorite one. King gets biled, and Odyssey started off this fight 4 versus 6. It was going to be so hard for them to climb back unless they had that sound barrier on way quicker, but 100-99. We were hoping to see a glimpse of American Tornado after it was 100-7% on Mecha Base, so I'm stoked to see American Tornado warmed up now.
Yeah, it wasn't a Veneer flawless round that happened last time. Hydron, I think, has been caught out a little bit in this series, but Hydron isn't known that much, I think it's fair to say, for their Tracer. Speedily is usually the one to go over to a Tracer, and you can see that already in our hero select at the moment. It's going to be King.
Good tweet.
Oh no, here we go again. King's going to likely be going for the Tracer duel here against Speedily. Both will, of course, roll out here with the Symmetras, and we have ourselves a mirror matchup for the first time, it feels like. So this is going to be very much reliant upon mechanical plays and synergy for this first fight. Rhino and Speedily versus Rhino and King.
Well, just remember, guys, these guys have already faced in the semifinals and went to a Game 5, so I know you American Tornado Odyssey fans know you got the popcorn and a pretty big bowl of it, because it's gonna be a while. Odyssey already have drum side, though. Shield starting to break for these Sigma players, and that's not a shield you can always depend on. It's one of the weakest ones, but man, this brawl between Vulcan and False is kind of disgusting. But when Odyssey have their supports, or sorry, their DPS actually still alive, turns out they're gonna have more shield breaks, so Odyssey do manage to cap the point first.
I like the shenanigans there, the scheme from Rakatak and Vulcan to make sure that when False entered the pagoda that they were going to be stunned and knocked into a corner to make sure they had to expend so many resources to even get out of that arena. First cap will go the way of Odyssey, and now Rhino will be able to freely set up some engagements here. However, King is being marked right now by Speedling. That's going to make it a lot more difficult to move towards the squishier targets with Rhino, because you've got to cover so much ground while Speedling is on your heels.
Especially when these Tracers want to apply that pressure to the Zenyatas, Ultraviolet and Lucamino, while they will be babysat by OG and Rack Attack. The whole point of why you have the Brigida more survivability, not only for yourself, the team, but your fellow other support is the squishiest one, and King gets found by False. American Tornado with an advantage. Rhino's still getting healed up too, so this should be where American Tornado either want to start the flank or start to push towards the point. False leads the front charge. He'll have the Gravitic Flux, waits for the Transcendence from Lucamino to be done. Then False will unleash. Rack Attack might have a rally. We'll see if Odyssey can still live. False made an impact as Rhino was in the back line. Doesn't look like too many of Odyssey died. I think those well-timed support ultimates. King looking for a pulse bomb to place, either onto a weak tank or a perfect Zenyatta. Ultraviolet down as Odyssey, their turn for Gravitic Flux to get those last weak members off their point, and Odyssey are still in control.
Lemon, that fight took so long because they spent so long trying to set up a pick onto King at the beginning, but now it's 80% to Odyssey. 80-0. American Tornado invested heavily in that last fight as well. They used the trance, they used the rally, they used both their tank ults, they used the pulse bomb. All they have is a Bob, and 10% separates them from dropping our first map, and that Bob can be matched by Dove.
Yeah, you can just place this on the point so you don't actually have to play the point. It'll keep being contested, especially when you have a weak shield, not a lot to defend your supports with. As a Bob crosses from high drawn, and so is Dove, probably near the objective, but False. While his shield was low, Dove's Bob finished him off, and there was no one to touch the point for American Tornado. 100-0 for Odyssey to take our first map.
Not a fan. When you have yourself a Wrecking Ball and a Tracer, you can't let those ones slip past you. But what a performance in the first map from Odyssey. And what's really exciting me about this series, Lemon, is the variety of strategies that we are seeing. And remember, as our highest seed, American Tornado did get to pick this map as we came into here. They're going to be able to pick again. But,
I have a question though, like, where did the Bobs went? Where is the Bob? Because
I didn't see where the Bobs went. One Bob may have been a direct hit onto False because they managed to get a kill on False, and I feel like that wouldn't have slipped by too easily unless they managed to get the like direct knock-up kill, and then you get the headshot after, and Bob's like miscellaneous fire is the one that secures the killing blow. I believe we are going to be going to Hybrid next, and we'll bring up our map next. We're going to be going over to the wonderful Blizzard world, which I'm going to have to bring up Dallas versus Houston again because, man, that series is going to be stuck in my mind for a long time, Lemon. I wonder if we could see any more shenanigans when it comes to things like the Symmetra. I hope we see some more Doomfist because Speedly is particularly great at that. I don't think there's too much of a onus right now, though, on Odyssey to go for anything too weird. They've done fairly well with the Rush. They've done pretty well with Bull Sigma as well. And for now, it's up to American Tornado to bring out a punch that's strong enough to really send Odyssey reeling.
Well, how about a punch that already happened? American Tornado, last time they faced Odyssey on this very map, they full held them. I think that's why you bring them to here when you know they suck at the range. They know maybe you think they suck at getting to the objective when I think, it's against Dive. I think they ended up playing. So, yes, American Tornado looked better on their Winston Nano, the double bubble-ish. But, you picked this map because you think Odyssey are weak on it.
Yeah, as I remember, it was the Dive defense. They had the Rhino Winston, which was one of the main playmakers, of course. If we've got to think back to Busan on Downtown. We saw the double bubble come up. Well, not actually double bubble. I think they were playing the Diva with it. So a little bit of a more classic Dive tank line from American Tornado. And we're probably going to see something a little bit closer to classic double bubble here on Blizzard World, because there are a lot more safe areas for Rosaya to play. There's safer areas for an Ana, so you don't have to play the Diva, which is occasionally mandated on Control if you're playing the Ana, because there's the need to be able to move quickly between peeling for your Winston and being able to peel for your Ana as well. But I think on a more compacted defense like you'd see on Blizzard World, you're more likely to see the Zarya.
I know you were hyped up to see Dove Soldier, and he ran this on Blizzard World Attack, and that's when they got full health. So maybe no Dove Soldier today. I don't know. But
an augmentation of tactics.
I mean, just the reason why Soldier isn't that meta is yes, it's very consistent DPS, but just the utility of other DPS are just more useful, like the McCree flashbang. If you catch someone out of position, so important to get that first pick. But the healing of Soldier is something you usually wouldn't need at this high of elo when you have capable support, so it's just not the most important utility that's ever been seen, but still consistent damage can be good to break down shields or finish people off.
Yeah, the sprint is pretty powerful, and you're exactly right that there's a lot of value in the continuous fire at long range with somewhat limited damage drop-off, allowing for finishes, especially onto fleeing heroes like, say, a Tracer or a Wrecking Ball, where they always get away with a smidgen of health, right? When you're playing ranked, that Wrecking Ball audaciously slams into 6 of you. They get stunned like 7 times, but then the shields come up and they get away with just a tiny bit of health, and you know that their Ana has nano boost now. That's where a hero like Soldier 76 can come in clutch, especially with the additional chase that is granted with the sprint utility. I wouldn't be surprised to see OG play a Mercy here, however, because that can occasionally be the choice in American Standard. They like to put OG on the Mercy to just make sure that Speedly is even more dangerous. Some excellent fan art there from Juliet showing off Rack Attack's entire hero pool. Smile.
Damn, why you come at him like that?
His Mercy's okay. It's fine. We've even seen the Rack Attacks in, but never miss a chance to flame me.
Yeah, I think just the OG Mercy, just Mercy in general, is where you're putting stock into one person. You have that single target healing and damage boost, so usually that's what you would pair with Speedily, but I think it's just been safer for the entire team if OG's on the brig, because especially if you have an annoying Tracer, you have the shield up, pulses the shield, you can drop it. There's some ways to negate a Tracer harassing your backline, which King has been known to do that.
King does love marking, but now it is going to be a duel of echoes. We haven't seen too much of King on the echo that I can personally remember, but we are going to be seeing double bubble versus double bubble, what feels like for the first time in North American Contenders. Very unlikely that 2 teams would run this at once with how current sort of tastes are in this region.
Well, Rhino sneaking up to that right side, meets the 2 tanks, and you have Luke Camino is just right behind them. Hydron wins that Tracer duel against Dove, but Odyssey can still engage, or at least kind of do these soft pokes where you're just taking damage, generating those support ultimates. Rhino getting closer to Primal Rage. There might be a slower phase up until Dove finds a good opportunity.
Like, pay close attention here to how Rhino engages onto Luke Camino when Rhino starts to take damage, puts down a shield behind him to try and block any incoming damage or healing.
Ooh, some good stickies from King, but didn't have flight to escape that situation. Focusing Beam couldn't be brought out because of that Reiner bubble. With Ultraviolet down, though, Odyssey could think about this. They got the Nano. They think it's winnable. Rhino, or it's actually given to Vulcan, probably because he had high charge. Will finish off Falls, and now Odyssey need to break inside this point and quickly, because Luke Camino is down. He don't have as many heals with just a Brig. Looks like that first tick and maybe second. American Tornado, we'll see if they can even touch.
Ticking clock right now. Luke Camino swaps over onto Velucia and wants to return a little bit more quickly, and Hydron's going to be here to keep this contested. They're waiting for Reiner to arrive. Speedily going to copy the Winston, so now there's going to be a couple of monkeys on the point.
Okay, Reiner's just trying to keep this one alive. How about more monkeys? Speedily just copies another. You got a Primal Rage and the grab. Vulcan trapping them into place so they couldn't contest, and Speedily Duplicate thought it was maybe savable, but Odyssey just took up so much real estate. American Tornado, I don't think we'll be able to hold choke.
Nano was used onto Reiner as well. That was a large investment for American Tornado to not be able to hold that point. The silver lining, however, is that Vulcan was forced to use the Graviton in a situation where they otherwise may not have been. Lucamino gives away that Lucio ult charge, knowing that the superior healing of the Ana is the order of the day right now, and absolutely essential if they want to continue carrying on this momentum. Fox needs to find a little bit more energy here, a little bit more damage, because they're being significantly outpaced by Vulcan.
Yeah, you just have to be so well connected between your Winston and your Zari to get that energy. Who's dropping bubble first? Is it the Zari bubble to Winston? One. King, duplicate, gets slapped. Couldn't dodge that. Good play from Ultraviolet. Now they're just going to leave that guy alone until he starts jumping again. He has probable reach. I don't think that duplicate's going to last too much longer, but hey, we'll see how long it goes. The pulse up to Pulse. Finished off. And OG, I don't think he's got anyone left to support. American Tornado might have to fall back, especially without Ultraviolet.
Hydron feels like this may be clutchable, and well, if there's any hero that can do it, it would be a Tracer. Takes out Dove, but without Reiner to try and secure that space, it's going to be difficult to maintain any sort of presence. So Hydron's going to get away with their life. And now False finally has access to the Graviton Surge. Remember, Vulcan here almost has a second one, close to lapping their counterpart here in the Zarya versus Zarya. So False needs to come up big with this. I want to see Luke Mino and Rack Attack caught, and if you can get a bonus, Vulcan too.
Yeah, maybe you start with the Nano engage first, see what you can get from that, because if you get a pick or two, then you can just save the grab for the next fight, and that's the type of efficient ult cycling you would expect from American Tornado. Just kidding, they're going to use duplicate and grab on top, the Pulse, and maybe holding on to the Nano. Maybe Ultraviolet's smart, but Odyssey, they got hit by a fat bio grenade from him. Vulcan had to fall back. Rhino's in Primal, just... I don't know, causing a bit of chaos. Maybe finds Hydron low enough who blinks away, but Rhino's in way too deep, and Odyssey are resetting.
Hydron disappears out of the crosshairs. Rack Attack won't survive for long right here, and Odyssey finally have been stopped. 2.5 minutes on the clock right now, and that can be worrying, especially for Blizzard World B, where control of this high ground is imperative. This allows Ultraviolet to set up towards the back, being able to use those hit scan heals to maintain influence on the battlefield from a very, very safe distance, and forcing a significant commute from either Rhino or Dove to try and harass him, which is very, very easy to telegraph and very easy to intercept by someone like Hydron.
Odyssey are full of ultimates. See how they use it. Rally, rally.
Oh
matched by OG and Rack Attack. King finds Hydron. Grab thrown from Vulcan. The bio would have slowed Odyssey down, but the Pulse did so much damage for Odyssey, but it's not the cleanest of team wipes. Pulse thinks that he could clutch this. I don't even know how much energy the guy has, but lasers down. Rack Attack. Luke Mino, the only healer left for this attack of Odyssey. Now maybe having to go back to the car where it's almost at the end of point B.
Killing Vulcan here would be ideal. They don't want him to get out with that energy, but with the additional peel of Rhino, it seems unavoidable. Hydron has access to that pulse bomb. You need to be conscientious of the immortality field here. Can shut that down in an instant. So you want to find someone who's either far from Lucamino or force it out in advance.
Odyssey just really want control of this high ground. The Amp Matrix would just get a lot more value, not having to worry about angles. Open to spray down American Tornado, who are getting close to their Nano engage. Odyssey get on the card. King duplicates an Ana and gets immediately tossed out of that form, so I don't think that was the one he wanted. American Tornado are on this high ground, maybe getting pushed off by Rhino, who disengages maybe in time to get healing, as Luke Mino had to use Immortality, already brought down to 1 HP, as King is swapping to another hero. Odyssey wiped out again from this cart, using ultimates while the team is resetting, and Odyssey need to talk to each other because there's only 30 seconds left to push the cart.
When it comes to talking to each other right now, that's exactly what American Tornado's DPS are doing. Hydron and Speedly absolutely suffocating Odyssey right now. Like you said, King has had to move over here onto the Sombra, but I feel like it's got very limited usefulness at this point. Ideally, you could get a hack onto Hydron if Hydron is caught a little bit early, but Luke Mino catching some of this poke could force out an early usage of the Immortality field. It will, and this means that the duplicate's going to be so much better, Lemon.
But a critical bubble from Vulcan is what saved Luke Mino from the sticky damage of Speedily, especially with the Nano. That first pick could have ended it all for Odyssey, and I mean, it might just be over now. You don't have Vulcan, you don't have Rack Attack. Odyssey's still trying to get to the car while they've been bio-grenaded time and time again from Ultraviolet. Odyssey just fought so many times. They got so little progress, so they will not be getting point B.
Bols, as a Zarya, definitely doing a lot with the defensive positioning. there was a time at which False was less than half the damage of Vulcan in Visaya versus Zaya. Almost lapped on Graviton Charge Surge, but at the end of this round, Lemon, they're within 100 points of damage of each other. So definitely in the latter half of that round, False picked it up and began to go equal or superior to Vulcan. And Hydron has started to win some of these Tracer duels. And what's important about Hydron winning these Tracer duels, Lemon, is that Hydron isn't requiring so many resources to do it. If I want to cast your mind back to Busan, our final map, Sanctuary, after the first cap from Odyssey, we saw that, yes, King did fall down on that Tracer as the first pick, but so many resources were allocated. Hydron had the Harmony Orb. Reiner had to come in on the Wrecking Ball and do a little bit of additional attacking. False had to give over a bubble, and it cost so much valuable time to claim King's life. But now Hydron's basically able to take this 1 versus 1 by himself because so much attention is demanded by these main tanks, as is the regular for a Winston, right? Your Ana is always going to be staring that way, and that can allow for a DPS differential to be established in a less resource-heavy exchange.
Well, you were hyping up Ultraviolet at the start of the series, and I have said so many times, oh my god, Odyssey got Byard again. They got Byard again. And that's all because of Ultraviolet being able to use that utility in an offensive way instead of, you know, when you're under a lot of heat and you gotta heal yourself. And I want to see Odyssey supports do the same thing now that Lucamino wants to match that hero, and how they're going to be able to generate that as King on the Sombra is able to hack Reiner, but that's not really going to do much for you, and the team's not ready to engage. You need to see King farm this up as much as possible. This first Reiner engage after those supports, and this speedily follow-up just deletes most supports of Odyssey. Where's the peel? When they see that when King translocates, it's a 6 versus 5 for American Tornado, and that's the moment they chose, and it was the correct one. American Tornado will be capping the easiest point of their life.
It's a textbook dive, Lemon. Reiner arrives first. Everybody looks at him. The Bio-Grenade arrives second. And then Hydron arrives as the piece de resistance, the finisher that gets rid of Rack Attack, who's now had to swap over onto the Mercy. They want to give King some additional resources in this DPS duel, but remember, this is going to make life a lot easier for Reiner, who now has one less CC to worry about. They can get closer to Lucamino and not worry about that shield bash and not worry about the whip shot interrupting their dive trajectory.
So American Tornado are always engaging first, and that might be normal for an attack, but they did the same thing on defense. Hydron, see if he can win this duel against his opposing Tracer, especially with the pulse. Maybe baits him towards the health pack, but American Tornado starting their nano engage, probably giving that to Reiner, unless False has sometimes high energy, or I guess speedily when he's so deep in the backline, he can just keep killing supports uncontested, and speedily copies the Mercy. Who is the alpha support? Rack Attack will be conceding that. American Tornado, one last fight before winning the map.
Why did none of you die? I didn't get a copy res, says Speedily. The Glock's out again. I'm afraid no Valkyrie this time, but what a display. Still, the contest from Rhino is going to have that additional 1000 HP from a Primal very soon, Lemon.
Yeah, see, that's that. When you pulse the shield, you can drop it, leave your supports unaffected. OG so good at negating these Tracers. The rally starts. American Tornado have the ultimates. They have the advantage. Just 1 meter away and 4 minutes. So many ult cycles left to do. Rhino might be above them. He's looking for those same supports who are glued to the tanks aside. American Tornado with the final grab, and speedily with a 3K. American Tornado with years to spare in their time bank will be evening up the series 1-1.
You can see exactly why they decided to go to Blizzard World, Lemon, a geography that's very friendly to the Winston. And now, with this double bubble mirror match, which I can't say I ever expected between these two teams being established as seemingly firmly in the favor of American Tornado, I imagine that we're going to see Odyssey opt into a lot more rush-centric map picks, things like Havana, things like Rialto.
American Tornado, that was the question. They looked weaker at the start of this rush meta. Was it one of Fran's tournaments or maybe a Mayhem Classic where they didn't win it after they were consecutively winning everything in Contenders before? And people were kind of saying that this rush meta is favoring a lot of teams who have a lot of team cohesion. They have their comms on straight. While as American Tornado, they want to play a composition that favors individuality and the individual skill sets of each one. And what a better composition than the double bubble, especially the Speedily Echo. I think that's a big reason they went to Blizzard World.
Yeah, Speedly's Echo is essentially the stuff of legend. I touted him at the beginning of this series as potentially the best flex DPS in North America. However, in order to be that, you gotta claim those wins, you know, and right now it's all tied up. We'll see who takes the lead in our third map after this break.
Our losers finals is now tied 1-1 apiece after some surprising finishes and a quite quick one for American Tornado back on that Blizzard World map. But this means that Odyssey now get to pick our next map.
Yes, and when we look at Odyssey, we always have to look at their roster. And, well, one of the things that is sure to happen when you have a Tracer as good as Sigma on your team is that you're going to find a place to let him loose, a little playground just for Sigma. And that playground is Volskaya Industries. Let's have a quick look at the substitutions that have been made, starting, of course, with Odyssey. It's no surprise that Tracer is the picture for this player, also known as Venom, in case you find the name shared with a hero a little bit too confusing. Sigma is the stuff of legend and has confounded American Tornado before. You mentioned the Mayhem Spring Classic before we went to break, Lemon, and one of the main reasons why Odyssey were able to overpower American Tornado and claim that title was because of the Sigma Tracer just being a little bit too much.
Yeah, and they just have been hesitating on whether they want to play Sigma or not because of Tracer. I've already said this in the intro, but just how Tracer isn't as meta, and that's really one of the only heroes that Sigma will play at that insane Owl level. Like, everyone's like, oh, Sigma to Owl, and this guy was just kind of discovered in our region recently. But American Tornado are doing their own substitutions, and this is another rare occurrence, but always happy to see Iced in the lineup. And from what I heard from American Tornado, they like to play Iced when they want a double hit scan, because Speedily can play the Tracer, but when they want a more consistent Asher McCree player, that's maybe when Ice can come in.
The artist formerly known as Papaya Pete 57, returning to the classic name of Iced. We interviewed Reiner one time after a game, Lemon, and we asked about how Hydron and Iced fit into this team, and he told us quite candidly that Hydron is a mechanical freak, is just very good at hitting shots, and Iced is mechanically good with a brain. He's the smarter hit scan option that they sometimes go for, and will often be playing the Ash instead. That might be because of maybe some positioning changes. They're both going to be in at this point. We've actually subbed out Speedily. So you could expect that maybe we're going to be seeing a Hydron versus Sigma matchup of Tracers here, because you need to be consistently allocating someone to Sigma to make sure that he isn't able to run free, and Iced is going to be going up against Dove on a mirror matchup of Ashes, if I were to guess.
Our next map chosen is Volskaya, and this is both their specialties, especially Sigma. The very few times we get to do see Sigma, the last time was on Volskaya against American Tornado, and oh, doggo. Oh, it's us. Oh.
Hello, us. And dog.
Hello, us. Back to my point of the last time that these two were on Volskaya, American Tornado finished with a way bigger time bank, like 2 or 3 minutes more than Odyssey did. I think Odyssey might have finished in overtime. And American Tornado kind of choked and ended up losing that map. So, yeah, I still think American Tornado are the overall better team on this map. But, you know, if they flip their opportunities in the time banks, we'll keep that in mind.
Yeah, no checking this time. Bazo's been practicing his Heimlich maneuver. American Tornado are going to be attacking first right here. Reiner opening up on the hog, likely just going to go for a early hook up top, just in case the Sombra would be hiding there, trying to get some recon, or maybe overly enthusiastic ball. Wait, is it real? Could it be leaving the spawn? Oh my. So both Sigma and Reiner are now going to have to worry about the zone of influence that the Roadhog projects around itself every 8 seconds, and it's also quite a solid amount of shield pressure. Remember, this is not the live patch. This is not 6.6 damage propellant on the scrap gun. It's still regular Roadhog.
I think maybe he just wants to hook Sigma. This is just, I mean, it's not necessarily a counter, because if you miss that hook, you're quite literally a walking ult battery for someone like Sigma. As Reiner wants to go on the flank, American Tornado at least have led the rest of their forces to the front line of the point, and, well, they chased Rhino, and that's the hook that finishes it, as Odyssey are stuck in Mega Pack's side, and they have so much shield break against just a tiny paperweight shield of Vulcans, so I really don't know how Odyssey are going to get this back.
I mean, the consequences of Reiner's pick here are multiple. I mean, that was not a great hook, but they are looking to at least get firstborn here. Reiner is going to return, waiting for the hook to come off cooldown, at least allows Reiner to survive for a little bit longer, but now everyone else from the side of Odyssey has to get into position on the point.
Yeah, the melee's to finish off Rack Attack. Yeah, I said that Odyssey, I don't know how they were possibly going to engage into this. This Roadhog pick is especially to go after Sigma, Rhino, to shield break Vulcan. It's not meta, but it's especially catered for Odyssey, who now go to the Ana to see if they can bio Reiner, deny some of that healing, and just stay further back away.
That's the only real swap they can make, Lemon. If we think about the wider connotations of this pick, what can Rhino go over to counter this? You'd hope maybe a Reinhardt, but then what's Sigma going to do?
They would just have to change their entire lineup, like a Deep or a Zarya to negate some of these hooks, and a shield would be preferable, but Odyssey are just so close to ults, they might see what they can salvage with their first round of ultimates, but American Tornado have already started some opportunities, getting a pick onto Sigma. They have the rally going. American Tornado are going towards the point. Maybe Acrobatic Flex from Vulcan can slow things down, but the OG rally seems to keep this attack healthy, as they're still making the space to the left and to the right. Start to surround Odyssey. Lucamino dies with Transcendence. That's not ideal. Now Hydra can go and finish off Rack Attack unless he can hit a sleep, but just cannot. American Tornado taking down those supports, have staggered them from each other. Should be able to get at least 2 ticks.
Dove right here in danger, but Hydron also in danger. A little bit like Ralph Wiggum. Needs to get healed up right here before we can go a little bit further in. Lukemino denies that second tick, but won't be able to stay around for long as Hydron going to try and chase down their prey. Rhino already taken on down. Bob's on the point, auto-aiming, carving him up as they come on to the point. An American Tornado have quite the time bank, Lemon. 4-11. Watch that time bank go up. It's always so satisfying.
Oh god, it's painful if you're an Odyssey fan though. And we had expected this. American Tornado are very strong on this map, but they also study their opponents to be able to bring out the Roadhog to stop any engages from Rhino. And you saw without a shield from Vulcan and any engages from Rhino, Odyssey were just quite literally staring at the point, getting capped in front of them. And Lukemino dying with trans is not ideal. No one peeling for Rack Attack once he's left on his own, especially as an Ana. You can't really depend on a sleep to peel for yourself. So Odyssey needed to change something up. They needed to react to what American Tornado did.
Yeah, and like we did talk about as well, Rhino playing on that Roadhog, it would have required to be fully countered a huge compositional change-up from Odyssey. And the fact is, for as good as Sigma is at Tracer, he can't really mesh with other comps as well. Like, there's a reason that they don't play Sigma on non-Tracer maps. And they would have just had a lone Tracer trying to operate against an American Tornado comp that would have been able to do a significant amount of damage to them. Still, the Roadhog on the defense, not quite as good. Easier to overwhelm. You can set up a long-range bardic grenade onto them. Odyssey, they like to run this wacky support composition with a little bit less throughput on healing. We've seen the Rack Attack and Lukemino brig Lucio before. I'm not sure if they'd opt into it again, but generally, you run this composition when you are preparing to overwhelm a defense that can't out-rotate you, right? Like, you know that they're going to be playing as Zenyatta, so you just want to run everyone on top of them and try and survive the commute there as best as possible, kill the Zenyatta, and then kind of work it out from there.
I think there's ways to play around the Roadhog that Odyssey started to do, but didn't really continue doing. And that's when Reiner misses one of the 30 hooks that he lashes out. Then there's that 5 to 6 second window that you have for Rhino to roll on in and get some ult charge. I'm not saying go in and kill Reiner, because it's kind of impossible to kill a Roadhog unless you have some kind of anti-healing or some kind of CC. But that was the window of opportunity I would have liked to see Odyssey take advantage of. But you know, you probably practice a certain comp in scrims, and when people whip out stuff that you don't scrim against, it can be hard to come up with these solutions in the heat of the moment, especially in a match that matters this much, like a loser's final.
And when you can't have one of your DPS move over to try and counter the Hog a little bit more proactively, it falls upon your tanks and supports, right? We saw Rack Attack and Lukemino have to move over onto an Ana Zen. And when you go Ana Zen, well, guess what? Rhino dies on Roadhog, yeah, but he comes back on ball and has the time of his life diving to flex supports. It's easy clap then for American Tornado. Odyssey aren't going to be opting into the full rush support line here. They are going to be playing on that Zenyatta. Rack Attack's going to be very low with no real capacity to heal themselves.
Yeah, and this poke phase is really tough for Brigidas, because unless you can get your Flare and your Inspire proc, you have kind of limited heals with the shields you can provide, or the armor packs you can provide. So that's probably how that first pick happened. Healing not coming quick enough. It's Odyssey wasting a little bit of time. They don't really have a great poke with just Dove, as Sigma tries to sneak to that left side. Hydra knows where this is coming from, as Odyssey seem to be split towards the right side, so they just have to have a plan, and it seems to be going to top right, but Vulcan is being surrounded, and Dove and Sigma not getting enough healing will fall to the hands of Hydron and the range damage of American Tornado. So I think Odyssey might want to reset, especially after losing their DPS, but they're holding on to the space that they do have now.
Yeah, just for supports remain, but Ultraviolet and OG trying to stand as a bastion of defense here. Only a single tick has been gained, and Rhino won't take too long to come back, so it likely will be contestable. It feels from the movements, though, that it's not going to be something that American Studio opt into. They want a better chance on second. Don't want to give away those breakpoints and ultimate charge to Odyssey to make sure that they require a poke phase here to generate a considerable ultimate advantage. And that poke phase, it could end in tears, Lemon, if Hydron sticks a good pulse bomb.
Sigma Getting close to that left side. Hydron always seems to have his number. He's just always on the sides of Sigma, taking his attention away. Because they know when Sigma's in the lineup, he can kind of go big. He's gotten these 4 or 5Ks. We can make a montage with Sigma alone. So having that much attention is to be expected. American Tornado just playing deep into their own spawn. They're waiting for Odyssey to make a move and to punish those mistakes. Rhino, once he gets that health pack, you could see maybe some mines being dropped on American Tornado.
Odyssey at the break point now. They are going to have 5 ultimates ready to go, and that will be the explosive moment to move forward into American Tornado. Without being threatened by a pulse bomb either, they're going to make their way through a minefield.
As soon as Hydron shows his face, he gets bursted from Luke Mino. And there are the ultimates from the defense. The Gravitic Flux gets countered by the Transcendence and Rally of Odyssey as a great pulse from Sigma. Does take care of some of the resources of the defense. Ultraviolet's the only one left, but the damage is just overwhelming from American Tornado, who win the frontline duel. That's iced with a 3K. Of course, some of those including Bob, but still, that brings Odyssey now to a time bank disadvantage.
Bobby B understood the briefing, knowing that Sigma was going to be forced into a disengage by Hydron, squeezed out of his hidey hole like a zit, and then summarily popped once they showed their face. Yeah, sorry about that imagery. Ew.
Ew.
Hydron very low in the back right now. I don't think there's a real escape velocity he can achieve at the moment, but it's not too bad. Once he dies, he will respawn quite far away, all the way back at point, and won't really be too much of an issue. This keeps Luke Mino's attention as well, and it stops him at shield break being directed towards Phelps.
Gravitic Flux, start off by Vulcan, gets just the tank of Reiner, and the OG rally should bring him and the rest of the team back up to full. American Tornado just holding their ground, especially on this high ground where Vulcan wants to dislodge and make them uncomfortable, so their poke isn't as strong. But a good brawl in this front line of Odyssey. They're starting to make that space, but until they win that Tracer 1v1 against Hydron, until they push away Iced, this is going to be tough. But Odyssey with a few picks, especially 2 from Rhino, the mines right in front, and OG gets staggered. This is good for Odyssey. 3 minutes on the board, dwindle down to 2, giving a 1 minute 15 advantage to American Tornado.
And it's Vulcan and Rhino again who managed to find the places in the armor they can dig their nails in and rip it away. These guys have been a tank duo for so long, Lemon. They're so excellent at covering each other, even with characters you wouldn't anticipate having too much cover synergy. Vulcan just demands so much attention from the enemy with the aggressive positioning they take, but for Sigma, think about how they use that Gravitic Flux to get up onto the high ground and essentially operate about 2 meters away from Ultraviolet, and you can't ignore that as a Zen. And when you're having to deal with that as a Zen, it means that everyone else is missing out on healing and missing out on well-placed Discord orbs. Happy May the 4th. And those are some excellent, you'd say Jedi robes, but I'm feeling Sith. We got a little bit of juxtaposition with the blue lightsaber, commonly denoting a Jedi, and some dark robes that would usually be associated with a Sith.
I'll translate that to, damn, Nikki, you look good. And shout out to the Rack Attack. Shout out to the Rack Attack family supporting Odyssey today. And for any new viewers from the Overwatch League channel watching, show them some up. It's always cool to see parents support their kids and their endeavors, good or bad. Odyssey, 2 minutes. We'll see if this can turn into something good. It's only 1 minute 15, so pretty negligible, the difference of 1 fight.
Odyssey, they found some early advantages here. They just have to be a lot more careful with their poke. Remember that Luke Mino was the first to fall. Hydron and Rhino, they play on the left-hand side here, and they swoop in, I believe, once the dynamite hits to make sure that it's very difficult to keep everyone topped up.
Oh, Rhino's running right in the middle of them with low HP, able to use the adaptable shield in time, but chased down by Hydron, so it's actually evened up 4-4 apiece, as Odyssey might have slightly closer respawns, but their DPS are not so healthy. Ice got pushed into and ended up clapping back against Odyssey, so 30 seconds taken away.
Now, I feel like we've been quite quiet on Ice's name, apart from about 3K with the Bob, just because Ice has been playing what we'd call like the supportive DPS, but doesn't get quite as much in the way of resources. They're just playing by themselves. They're being able to peel for supports using the coach gun, whereas Hydron's often the one who has the Harmony Orb to try and give them an advantage over Sigma, because they're dealing with this huge threat that's being presented by Odyssey.
Oh, the chase down. See if Rhino can get away. I think he does, but Now 1 minute remains for Odyssey, and their tanks still need to get healed up, and that's kind of the danger when you don't have a fight started and need to heal everybody up without Inspire. So Odyssey taking a lot of heat, especially Luke Mino dropped down to 1 HP, needing to peel for him, make sure Hydron isn't there. He drops the pulse at 6 Vulcan, too low to care. Odyssey 5 versus 5 after Reiner was found, as Odyssey might want to go to the point, or, well, maybe reset. 30 seconds, the rally starts, and Rack Attack and friends are going to the objective.
OG going low. That's not good news for Ultraviolet, who's already pretty low themselves. False loses for Shield, but don't have a kinetic grasp either. Sigma's decided to try and claim this with both hands, but now has to move into a minefield and doesn't have the health to do so. Reiner going to be public enemy number 1, but Hydron comes in from the side and wins the Tracer duel. Still no tick has been gained here from Odyssey, but they've got a couple near spawns.
You need at least 1 tick if you want to make this winnable Odyssey, especially with how Blizzard World went. You want some kind of response to that, but Ice, he's the one who bites at night, and looks like Odyssey will just get nothing. Even the Transcendence is used just a touch, not ideal. Dove dies 4% off to Bob, and Ice has just been untouched this round. Holy cow, did he pop off.
Iced has come alive, and it's kind of a shame because you'd anticipate that Iced is going to get subbed out the second this map finishes. And currently it's unwinnable for Odyssey. That's the nitty gritty of it, Lemon. No tick gained. They've got to hold the first 33% here for 3 minutes and 15 seconds. Otherwise, American Tornado, they're going to be going over to match point.
And not getting a tick just really sucks there. And Odyssey, it just felt like they were standing at the mid choke, and they really never had a push going to the point A. They tried to go top right. They tried to push into Ice, who was low, and that just never happened. Ice got a 3K in that moment. Odyssey were picked constantly with either Luke Mino in that first fight or Rhino getting chased down by Hydron. It's just feels like Odyssey are just standing still. It's like slow motion. They just can never get a fight started. And it's always American Tornado that are playing really aggro and just initiating everything.
Always being able to be the ones to strike first. Will the same be established here on the attack? I love Reiner picking up this Roadhog again. Odyssey are going to have a lot of trouble dealing with it. Like we've talked about before, very little in the way of mitigation in the post-hook scenario. No defense matrix, no bubble. No real reactive shield. Vulcan could certainly throw out the experimental barrier, but it will not reach the target area in time. So Odyssey here, they have to be very, very cognizant. They have to be very, very cautious about the zone of influence that's going to be projected around Reiner, and eventually they're going to have to cross into it once Reiner reaches that point.
Sigma's already controlling that right side where Hydron would like to push into to get behind this flank, but Sigma decides to give up that area, and now this allows American Tornado to have a very free push to their top left side. That high ground, as I'm sure that was a hook. Reiner with the first pick for American Tornado, and that's good for them, working on the only 33% take they need to take this map and go up in the series. Odyssey still have their tanks getting healed up, but Rhino was so low for so long, you're not having that support. And it will cost them a map here on Volskaya. American Tornado are now up 2-1.
They can't even reach the point, Lemon, and after what happened last time between these two teams, and American Tornado significantly dropping the ball with a larger time bank, they definitely did their homework. We talked with Reiner at the beginning of this year, and he told us about how different it is, the culture at American Tornado now. They're taking scrimming a lot more seriously. They're putting a lot more time into it, and you can tell that's an adaptation they made based off of VOD reviews. If they're going to play the Sigma here, as we know they are want to do, if they still have Sigma on the roster, we are going to force sort of like a checkmate scenario where we play the Roadhog, and you can't really change up your entire composition to match this. Otherwise, it becomes very easy for us to do our own counter with a Wrecking Ball.
Yeah, it's just kind of the timing of when you're going to switch your composition. I think, Odyssey on their first attack, they were 90%-ish to Mines and Gravitic Flux, and or on their first defense, I apologize, when they needed to try and figure out how to counter this Roadhog. And then the supports, it just felt like there wasn't enough healing for Vulcan and Rhino. I'm not sure if there was just not the right armor pack management, or just not having Inspire up at all times, or if the healing aura on the Zen wasn't at the right spot. I really don't know, but I felt like the tanks from Odyssey were just constantly waiting to be at full health before getting something done, and then that really limits the amount of opportunities you have. And American Tornado, we're gonna just sit around and let you heal up. Of course they're gonna chase you down and get a first pick almost every fight. So I think American Tornado were really good at reading the situation and being proactive about the way they take fights.
Once more, it will be the map pick as we go into map 4, Lemon, of Odyssey. They want to take us to a map 5. They want to knock out American Tornado, a team that has so many times denied glory to Odyssey. Let's have a quick look at our map set, because I'm intrigued. We're going over to something a little bit different now, Route 66, and we haven't seen too much of this outside of Europe. And when we've seen it in Europe, Lemon, it has been marked by a prevalence of double shield.
Maybe, yeah. We've seen all kinds of weird strategies even in Europe, where you have a Symmetra and an Orisa, and you pair that with a Sigma, like the Sigma hero this time with the Graphitic Flux, not Sigma the person, which, speaking of which, Sigma will be substituted out. King and Dove back in, and same thing with Iced. Iced is out. Hydron and Speedily are back in.
I do know that Rhino's preferred hero out of all of the main tanks is, of course, that Orisa. So I would not be surprised if they do run the Orisa Sigma with the Symmetra teleporter augmentation that is most famously, I think, being run by Exoblivione, and New Kings have also given it a shake here and there. American Tornado, as I remember, in our map 7 against Revival, in our last grand finals, Lemon, they got held at an embarrassing point in a rush versus rush scenario. They got held just after the first bend. They barely moved the cart around to Big Earls. So American Tornado's offense here, a lot of question marks around its efficacy.
Well, this is Odyssey's choice. This is where maybe their fate could be. It is only first to 3 in our losers finals. That ticket to the grand finals could be coming up, and American Tornado maybe didn't smash that last map as much as they did on Blizzard World, I think it was, where they had like 4 minutes and like leftover ultimates. I felt like it was a little bit more even on Volskaya, but Odyssey need to wake up. You know, we want to see Busan Odyssey back, where they look comfortable, they can play the compositions that they want, that they have Scrim. They don't have to worry about countering a Roadhog or any kind of silly stuff like that. They want to end it on their terms.
Yeah, we want the old Odyssey back, the nearly flawless mecha base Odyssey back. The only dropping 1 kill over 100% to 0 Odyssey back. Was 100% to 7? I forget. Oh well. Welcome to Deadlock Gorge, ladies and gentlemen. Someone wants you to go away, but trust me, I want you to stay. And I want you to stay engaged with Overwatch as well, especially Overwatch Contenders, and that's where you should tweet with the hashtag Contenders2021 to be part of the discussion and maybe even part of the broadcast.
The fact that you read that out, I'm today years old, like this minute years old, that doesn't say garage. My brain, I guess, added an A, and that O became an A, you know, with the cursive. I always thought that was Deadlock's garage. There's a gas pump. I don't know. Today I learned, like, you teach me something new every day.
Today I have taught a Canadian the word gorge. What it is to be a teacher.
Not an English teacher.
For the close hold here. They have the classic rush composition. American Tornado have once again decided to run out with something a little bit cheeky. Of course, we are right next to the spawn, so there's no guarantee that these picks will remain. Oh, the double bubble has been claimed. Well, they weren't very good at the rush offense here, so why not give something different a try?
See, I always kept calling that these nanos would go to run, or like he would usually do in a double bubble, but most of the time it goes to Speedily, and he's kind of cracked. Like, they like to put a lot of stock into him, especially usually they used to ran the Mercy just to only damage move Speedily. And I think, I don't know if you want to go to this map with how open the skies are against Speedily's Echo. Reiner jumps right on in, he's walled off and frozen. The first pick for Odyssey, but they lose rack attack as they got so aggressive in that engagement. But American Tornado have closer respawns. As long as they get these supports low, they dwindle down Odyssey, they'll eventually get this cart moving.
And trades are not in the interest of Odyssey there, of course. Being so close to the spawn. Yes, American Tornado possibly breaking their previous offensive record here against Revival. All they need to do is move it maybe about 20 more meters. Odyssey going to be looking to recapture the magic that LH Cloudy and co brought to the fore. But remember, Reiner here, very difficult dives to take. You're going to get walled, you're going to get flashbanged, you're going to get frozen. And if you get even further than that, you're going to get booped back again.
And it might be hard for someone like False to get sightlines on your Winston so you can give that projected bubble. So having to play a bit of an off angle where you expect the Maywall to come and dump low enough, focusing being brought out by Speedily. 1 and 2 picks, just like that for American Tornado. After they use the nano, probably given over to Reiner, so you have a little bit more sustainability if he does get frozen. And with that fight, American Tornado can just glide on into point A.
I'm willing to brawl in a pub car park with anyone who says that Speedily sticky bombs are not owled here. He's so good at getting these quintuple sticks or quadruples, always knowing the best place to pre-aim and having some great mid-aim adjustment and tracking. Odyssey are going to swap over now onto a Sombra. I think that this is the best way to try and shut down this double bubble. Maybe hacking Speedily would be their best option, or denying Reiner the ability to use that primal rage.
Well, Speedily's already above them, has the duplicate. He can be crazy just like that, but the Rhino shield is what kind of hurt American Tornado at the start, but they rally up, and Rhino's team was disengaging to deal with the Speedily duplicate, who, by the way, is still online and has a bomb with their name on it in the backline. Leaves it, a little bit of a present, and a double kill for the Immortality could save them. American Tornado always pulling the trigger first, and it's lethal when they do.
And guess what? They're going to be able to pull the trigger first once more because False has access to the Graviton. Could even just stand underneath here, grab them from underneath. That's exactly what appears to be set up right now. Then Reiner can cleave, Speedily can fly above, make sure they can navigate around that shield to stick the quintuple bomb, and then they have the dynamite on top of that. Ultraviolet just needs to get into a pre-position here to hit a good nade, and this could be a one-shot wipe. Reiner has finally moved over here onto the Arista, but it might be too late to save point B.
That's another first pick. American Tornado now throw the grab, the bubble of the Winston on top. The Immortality buys them time, and most of them were able to disengage and just accept rack attacks. So you only have BAP heals, and you gotta hope to touch, and Vulcan realizes Speeds does contest it, while the rest of Odyssey still have to break through Cave, where Reiner just landed on his forehead with a nano boost. So Odyssey, their chances are not looking too good to be holding on to point B either.
I'm afraid that you are alone there, Luke Mino. Dove going to be slain there by Hydron, and quite a bit of momentum now going the way of American Tornado. The good news for Odyssey fans, at least, is that Rhino's now going to be able to set up a little bit earlier with this Orisa. Of course, Orisa very vulnerable during the commute, and the entire time that they were making their way towards that cart was 100% commute for Rhino. They can hold the high ground, but who's going to stand behind this Orisa shield? Basically just Luke Mino, maybe Vulcan. King and Dove, they can't poke from afar here.
Yeah, this Orisa tells me that Odyssey want to play deep into point B or not, and trying to survive the dive as an EMP from King hits American Tornado as they were diving. The OG rally might be helping the rest of the team disengage because Reiner is so pivotal to these fights, and Speedily is on Megapack's side, has the copy, forces the translocate out. Oh, maybe not. King is one. There's the translocate, finishes him off, and despite losing Reiner, American Tornado have more than enough momentum to finish this map with a ton of time at this point.
Surplus to requirements, Reiner was, they say, because False has 100 energy and an axe to grind. And I'm afraid that the grinding wheel at the moment looks like it's going to be Odyssey. This is a comp at odds with itself, Lemon. They want to be stationary with the Orisa, but they're forced to be mobile with these DPS. They put down the supercharger, and Speedily's going to fall first. This could be where Odyssey turned it, but they've lost King already.
I'm surprised Reiner lived there. The grab is thrown. Odyssey still have the damage advantage of the supercharger. Self-destruct from the defense goes over to Megapack's side, where I don't think anyone from American Tornado even were. They're all pushing this defense. Their backs against the wall, even with the nano. They even have a leftover rally from OG. Odyssey have not won a single fight this round, this map thus far. Mental boom, question mark? I don't know, because American Tornado are not letting them have any room to breathe. And if you're Odyssey, you cannot afford to choke.
177 centimeters stood between American Tornado and the completion, and it will quickly be claimed. Any of my previous reticence worry, and maybe somewhat tepid approach to this map for American Tornado has been washed away on the back of some phenomenal double bubble play, but also Odyssey. I talked about a composition at odds with itself. What value are you going to get out of that Orisa? If only one person can stand behind the shield, really. Where's the Hangzhou? Where's the McCree? The Ashe? People who make it difficult to move through that barrier. Because that barrier is only effective if moving through it is a threat. And if it's just Luke Mina and Rhino behind it, frankly, it's not.
Yeah, if you wanted some kind of anti-dive, like I think the Reinhardt, there's a lot of Rhines going on, but a Reinhardt, so as soon as Reiner would be jumping in as Winston, all you would have to do is swing, because Orisa, once you get bubbled up, you take some time to burst the Winston bubble. I think maybe because Supercharger was online soon, that's a good ultimate, just to empower the rest of your team, but Supercharger almost ended up getting a pick on a Reiner, because it was placed well and deep by Rhino, so that was a good job, but Reiner was at 50 HP, was able to jump out, and no one from Odyssey heard the call to finish him. So I think there was a couple of flubs from Odyssey, but nothing that they can't match on this attack, nothing that they can't learn from.
Hydron got so much done there as the Ashe went 20 and 0, 7.5k damage done. Now moves over onto a McCree. Rack Attack is already in trouble. There's a little bit of mercy for Kim Sum, evidently. They've been reading the chat.
Oh, King, one last shot. He I guess didn't have Ice Block. Not sure, though. Odyssey losing one. Maybe the Vulcan mech. The Rhino shield is very low, and that's where American Tornado can be aggressive. The Immortality is brought up from Ultraviolet. Stabilizes American Tornado. Odyssey respecting that space, making sure they have everyone involved. Vulcan still doesn't have mech, so this is still a slow attempt for Odyssey.
Deadeye, round the back. King needs to be very careful. Puts up a wall, but remember, that means that Reiner can now engage as fast as they'd like. They've got the speed boost. They're going to need a little bit of backup.
Vulcan still doesn't have mech. I just would like to update everybody, but now he does. This is a new remake, so can't be crazy with that. Immortality saves Rhino while Vulcan is back. Odyssey can now take a fight on their terms, but Vulcan keeps going on these flanks, and Hydron's very punishing with the Phantom Hammer and Flashbang. Vulcan's back at farming this mech, which is just time slipping away for Odyssey.
Right now, the Deadeye looking to get some value here. Dove's going to find it! False and Ultraviolet go down, and suddenly the dam is broken and the tide comes in. Dove and Luke Mino combine for 4 kills, and Vulcan finally got his mech back.
Yay!
Feels like that's been a long story thus far, but now, crucially, Odyssey can pre-position themselves on the high ground, and this will force American Tornado to try and invest to push them off here. Whether it's going to be a Mabel or maybe a speed boost. What a slam!
My God! Rhino and the freeze from King, so they can't even get up. And this was such an important fight for Odyssey to win. I think if they stack 3, they should be able to get point A. American Tornado do have speed, though. We'll see if they can touch.
I feel like Dove might have hit a big flashbang there, or maybe Rhino just let their guard down for a second. The recontest, is it going to be considered? Seems like it is going to. They need to go through a small gorge.
And dropping the Blizzard is Odyssey's attacks. As soon as American Tornado dropped, they were frozen. Where OG read this play, Soundbear kept most of the team up. I mean, no one from American Tornado was dead up until Speedily went for a play with the Blizzard. And Dove was above them, raining down hell. Along with that Amp Matrix plays by Luke Mino. So a minute and a half, Odyssey could just smell the end of point A. And now I'm not even sure if they can cap it. And resetting at this point is gonna cost them.
Rhino returning to the fray as well, and with that shield back in action, it becomes increasingly difficult. There will be a reset, and more threateningly for Odyssey, American Tornado are going to be able to have inherent control of the high ground. That means they can control when the main tanks meet, when the real engagement happens, when Rhino and Reiner clash with Hammer and Shield. There are no real ultimates left for American Tornado. That's the only bright side for Odyssey, because the Deadeye isn't much by itself.
So Odyssey just thinking, maybe are they going to go top Earls? Are they going to go right to the cart? Seems like just going right to the cart might be the plan. As soon as Valsa's shield gets low, Odyssey might have an opening as Rhino and friends emerge. They put pressure on the Reiner, and the Maywall from King comes up behind that tank. Reiner is frozen. American Tornado do manage to save him, but so much space created from Odyssey. The Deadeye is being channeled at full damage, but American Tornado put the immortality just in case. Reiner is so low, finished off. Gravitic Flux from Falls gets stunned up, and I think canceled as Rack Attack brings the sound barrier just in case it were to go through. And Odyssey, speaking of which, will complete A and move into B.
Clutch down there onto False. I believe that was Vulcan hitting the rock and trying to be the better Sigma of the pair. Look at this, Odyssey. So proactive, claiming this space. We talked about controlling the engagement. When do the Reinhardts meet? Reiner was the one who had to go down and contest the cart because of the pressure that Odyssey were putting on it from under Big Earls. But now there's a little bit less cart pressure. Maybe American City will be able to move there instead, and that's exactly what they're doing. Going through the Mega Pack room. That door behind them will shut.
There's an Amp Matrix from Ultraviolet. I don't even know if the Fire Strike got amplified there, and the Blizzard from King and Speedily. No one can move. It's a deadly game of freeze tag, and American Tornado are winning every single one. Rotating to the cart, playing off their ultimates, matched by Odyssey, but getting more value out of it. American Tornado, by the way, are on the defense. We're behind the offense there. And now we'll have to wait Odyssey's push again.
Smart rotation there. Now they control the high ground. Hydron's going to have a lot of safety behind two shields and potentially a Maywall to boost him up to larger heights to utilize this Deadeye. Vulcan going down early. Odyssey, I think they'd be best to count their losses right here, especially with such a small time bank. Only a minute and a half remains after so much was burned on point A. After that first unsuccessful attack, which really was a huge investment for Odyssey and may come back to bite them later on in this map.
Depending on how long Odyssey take to rotate, do you go through main? Do you go through the side path? Do you go through cave? Odyssey opting for cave, where Rhino will have a shatter. Everyone was moved off. Was that OG? I don't know who just moved everybody off, but that just messed up Rhino's 6-man shatter there. Odyssey on the low ground. Deadeye, Gravitic Flux. Looks like he's gonna get everybody in it. Odyssey, they're gonna fail. They're gonna feel this in the morning. And Luke Mino, Rack Attack, didn't have the support. No sound barrier in time to save that. Brings Odyssey down to 37 seconds, or American Tornado are going to the finals.
Yeah, when it comes to hitting 6-man slams for Reiner, OG says, nah, G. False. Yeah, you can have that 6-man slam. What a Gravitic Flux. And also being mindful to hide away from that Deadeye. At least now, on cart, the advantage is definitely going to be Odyssey's with both their tank ultimates available. They've already used their amplification matrix here, and Ultraviolet's going to be able to use his own and force Odyssey to have to fight in its shadow.
Yeah, bringing them down to the cart. Well, if you don't have a shield, I don't think Rhino's going to be much of a threat. Maybe baiting them towards him as a Gravitic Flux from Odyssey catches a lot of the backline. Could not finish Ultraviolet because of the immortality. That would have been such an important hit for Odyssey's chances. A shatter to shatter. Soundmare reinforces Odyssey for maybe their final moments. But Hydron, Deadeye, the third kill for American Tornado, and the finish onto any reinforcements will end Odyssey's journey here. American Tornado will win Route 66. They go on to the finals to face Dark Mode.
They may well have started slow on Busan, Lemon, but once again, Odyssey will be denied moving any further than a bronze medal by American Tornado. A tale as old as time, Americans denying Odyssey their glory and denying them another one of these Contenders championships. It's been a while since they've claimed one, but they've always been a huge danger. Speedily there with the headshot on the May through the amplification matrix, dealing 300 damage to Vulcan, removing a Sigma that had only been partially poked down with a sudden burst and opening that one up like a tin can being attacked by an opener, just to make sure that they could be split in two so easily. Yeah, not my greatest metaphor, I know. Similarly.
I have one brain cell. You're gonna have to dumb it down like so many levels. I thought Gorge was Garage. So for our second rematch of American Tornado versus Odyssey, American Tornado for keep it score 2-0 in this tournament. But these guys have faced each other so many times. You guys have seen the "here we go again" meme, but last time it was in game 5. I think American Tornado, they pulled out a very good win, and they'll move on to the finals. And I'm excited because when I got to talk to American Tornado, they were not worried at all about Odyssey. They were already thinking about what they're going to do against Dark Mode.
Yeah, and when it comes to worrying parts of American Tornado that Dark Mode should worry about, right now, False is on track to do so much. If you ever needed a match to boost False's confidence, he got more than twice the damage of Vulcan on this map. Vulcan's damage in this map, 5,220. False, almost 13k. Good God. They did so much. They were silver damage, Hydron Wars popping off, but False here definitely trying to establish that off-tank differential against an off-tank as venerated and as respected as Vulcan is a huge step for False, because I know it's not fair to say, but the correlation is that since they've lost Cucumber, American Tornado have not been as formidable as they were in 2020.
Yeah, not like the flawless tier 2 drama alert that would just never like lose a map ever. Yeah, they're still climbing up to really prove that they're still the #1 team, but they had said even in a Hurix and Vicky interview that they are just taking grinding more seriously. They're doing more VOD reviews, they're scrimming more, they're just thinking a lot more about each individual match and how they're going into them, and you saw that in their compositions. But congratulations still to Odyssey getting 3rd place, still $5,000. That'll be the end of them, but we will have a special interview with someone from American Tornado to get their thoughts on this match and their thoughts on their future opponent of Dark Mode in the final. So you won't want to miss it. We'll see you after this. Welcome back from the break, everybody. We have a post-game interview with main support player OG from American Tornado, and I want to first get your thoughts on what you guys were thinking before this series. I was talking to Falls, and he was like, yeah, we're just thinking about dark mode. Was this series, in your mind, going to be that easy?
For sure. I think the only reason it was kind of hard last time is because we kind of shot ourselves in the foot, not playing our game, not playing like how we usually do in practices and stuff, but today we clicked really well.
speaking of practices, I want to know how much preparation you guys put into your Volskaya A attack with the Roadhog, which is very unique, but I can definitely see the rationale behind it.
Well, it went something like we lost every Volskaya, and we're like, okay, we just need to change something. So we just threw in the Roadhog. Girl's good at Roadhog. She's a DPS player before.
And what happened on Busan? Because that was, I felt like you guys were still warming up or something. There was like 100 to 7% on one of the rounds, and then 100 to 0, where it's really like a C9 or something. What happened on Busan? Were you guys just like not warmed up?
Yeah, a little sleepy.
Oh, okay.
Americans are not willing to call out warm-up partners. Nice guy, OG. Let's talk about yesterday, because I think that match was not as close as people anticipated, and definitely didn't go the way that people anticipated. What happened against Dark Mode yesterday?
I think it was just a fluke. We just choked horribly.
Damn. No more choking anymore, guys. You guys are going to the finals. Is there, what do you think about this rematch against Dark Mode? I know you maybe respect them a lot more than I guess you do Odyssey. How prepared are you to face Dark Mode?
Fairly prepared. I think a lot of their counter comps caught, like, especially me off guard yesterday. But I'm not going to get caught off today. So, should be a swift for you.
Are you guys planning on playing any more of the double bubble? You guys are one of the only teams that actually plays this composition regularly in North America, and generally seems to be a little bit of a communication check, and today you guys played it very well.
Yeah, we'll see. I think a lot of maps yesterday were kind of my fault, playing Mercy in areas where it's just overly difficult. I started to move towards like Brig a lot more, which gets like same pocket value, but like less of a commitment.
Less danger, less threat towards you.
I was talking to False about that, of like, oh, is it going to be the OG Mercy, the OG Brig, and how much stock you put into Speedily? Does that really change the way Speedily plays when you're not on Mercy?
I don't think so, because either way he's going to get zoned by a 225 HP McCree. So might as well have packs for everyone than just him.
Makes sense. Well, we won't keep you for too long, OG, so do you have any parting words, threats for Dark Mode before the match?
Nah, they just better watch out.
Ooh, watch out, guys. Watch out. Well, thank you so much for the interview, OG, and good luck in your final match.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was the wonderful main support OG, the bearer of many team monikers, part of Envy for a while, part of XL2 over at Gauntlet as well, and now, potentially, once again, a champion in 2021, but Dark Mode is going to stand in their way. We still have another match for you if we can bring up the bracket so you can quickly have a nice little gander at how we did manage to get here. 3-1 they were defeated by Dark Mode in the winners final in what OG describes as a fluke, but what I describe as maybe a new claim to the throne here from Dark Mode.
I mean, just American Tornado, like, no shade, but they're just not as consistent as their old roster, but they're still integrating these players, and to be in the grand final again, their second time since the season, is no surprise. But will it be another second place like last month? Or will it be a game 7? Will they take the dub? American Tornado want to make a statement, and like you guys heard from OG, watch out, because American Tornado are coming. So we're going to take a short break, and when we get back, will be the grand finals.
Hello, my name is Sigurd and I play Hitscan for Revival.
In-game name Sparker, I play Hitscan for London Spitfire and British Hurricane on two-way.
My name is Awad Al-Sabhi, my in-game name is Fuki. I play Hitscan for Explosive in Contenders and for Falcons Esport in Middle East.
Hello, I'm Dove, I'm 18 and I play Hitscan for Odyssey.
So I pretty much started playing Kree like when the first game came out. I've been playing since like open beta. So like I started playing Kree around season like 2, and then season 6 I got to like masters playing Kree. But I just basically kept playing Kree until I got GM, and then he's like kind of like my favorite hero to play. I like a lot of playtime on him.
What I like the most about Kree is just it's like a tank hero, you know. You don't really die easily if you play in good positions, you know. You can just shoot people, and if you find yourself in any weird spot, you can just flash, right? If you just flash, headshot, and you're just gonna get away with it.
What I like about Kree is that he's one of the only hitscans that hard rewards aim for the most part, because like Ashe and Widow are mostly about the crosshair placement and not raw aim.
I can like really hard carry fights on Kree. I'm a big fan of flanking and like flash fanning, of course. That's like kind of my playstyle. Even though like I have aim and I can aim, I much prefer to kind of like BM and just go for flash fans in the middle of the fights just to, you know, annoy the other team.
I'm a lot more passive on McCree than others, so I feel like my counterpart in this year's Contenders is Graffen from New Kings, because he's like super duper aggressive.
It's a triple Deadeye for Graffen!
My playstyle would be just try and force something to happen. Don't just sit AFK and just wait for something to happen. So whatever I really wanted to do, I just ask my team, yo team, I wanna hide bottom right, just flank, do something, you know?
Yuki right here, if I can get a... Oh, it's a nut splash!
my
It's a big slam! It's a massacre!
Of course, if you've got like aim, you can be like a monster and just go on the flank and two-tap someone, but you don't really need that.
You're playing against the inevitable right now. Sparker with the 2-tap on the 7, damn it!
My playstyle is more like a soldier Kree. It's probably the wrong playstyle, and I need to get more value out of my other cooldowns. I'd like to stay far away, unless I'm going for a play. I should be trying to squeeze value out of my other cooldowns, which is probably why I lost. But that's it.
This is the new chapter in Contenders.
All these different teams are going to have actually kind of their own identity. The start of this season gives me so much hope for the rest of the year.
Especially against the Doomfist as legendary as Danid. Getting the one up on them in the Doomfist differential is definitely a big boon here for Backbone.
Ultraviolet with the Ant Matrix.
Ultraviolet playing Aim Trainer with his burst. The Baby Diva kills both for DPS.
Ryder with the double.
I am in absolute awe.
So Odyssey might want to call a push here.
That's Luke Minos. Oh my, Ultraviolet popped the trance, ran it into Sigma. What a play from Ultraviolet.
I'm watching Sigma to see where this pulse bomb can go, and you don't even need it. All you gotta do is depend on Sigma, because he makes a movie out of Overwatch.
when Speedily turns 18, bidding war.
That is the Speedily diff.
Seeker here, doing a lot of damage, and Seeker's someone who we definitely have to highlight.
Seeker killed both of them.
Every single member of his team right now is doing what they need to do. They are popping off perfectly.
There are no more second chances.
Fuki right here, if I could get a bit. Oh, it's a nut splash!
my
Into a big
God.
slap.
British Hurricane have not ascended to godhood yet. Hell, double fire strike on the Solar and Hades.
We've got a series on our hands.
Whoa, the double move! Oh, gee!
EXO was never supposed to be here, and yet here they are.
Having to do that insane lower bracket run, a little greedy from Ice.
If you thought this was not going to go down to the very wire, well, you were dead wrong.
Ladies and gentlemen, it has all come down to this. 5 days of brutality, bloodshed, boops, and brotherhood has whittled us down to only 2 teams, and a throne sits vacant. Our previous champions, Revival, have been slain and tossed aside, and now there are 2 competitors remaining. A deposed king who reigned for nearly all of 2020, looking to claim back that crown, and an errant dark knight looking to usurp all those who would make a play.
And $15,000 on the line for first place and $7,000 for second. Kind of a big difference, but everyone's walking away with a little bit of love and some more money in their pockets. Let's look at the teams that will be competing today. It's Dark Mode versus American Tornado. And like you said, second place for American Tornado and Dark Mode in 5th place in the last tournament. And what a turnaround for Dark Mode especially.
Yeah, Dark Mode, they've had a couple of mix-ups. They've had a couple of new additions to their roster. This is a very fresh roster. And with that freshness comes a surprising amount of efficacy, considering how long some of these other teams have been around. I'm looking at people like you, Odyssey, and like you, American Tornado, who've been playing together for 7 months plus. But Dark Mode, if you want to talk about a name that you noticed yesterday, it's Aspire, because Aspire just would not stop. Aspire was cyberbullying, frankly. I don't know. Someone check him PC, because Aspire was popping off.
Yeah, his mechanics are some of the best in Contenders North America. I'm always so hyped to watch this guy play on McCree, or usually more the Hangzhou. That's kind of the flavor of Rush that Dark Mode have been running a lot more of, and his Widow he's even brought out a few times. But another person I want to hype up is Boogers. I think one of the best off tanks in North America, and I don't think there's anyone who can argue about that, and matches up so well with Gig, either on the Zarya or the Sigma, whatever Boogers wants to play. But let's give some love to their opponents, and someone that Boogers might find familiar. It's his old team, American Tornado, you guys just saw taking the dub against Odyssey.
And in particular, Reiner. It feels like a fated battle between brothers to see both Boogers, formerly known as Kaluge, and Reiner go up against each other. For a while, they were the premier bromance amongst the meme community of North America. These guys played together through thick and thin. These guys, they were both on the GOATS roster, and back at that time, they were known by very different names. I think that Reiner himself has probably gone through about 17 different renames, whether it's Sit, Thrill, or Draconis, or Shapeshifter, but all of them have been marked by excellence in their roles, whether it was DPS for Sit, playing the Widowmaker and the Tracer, or Reiner's current iteration, playing on the main tank. And he's got to show Kaluge that it wasn't right to leave, you know? We interviewed Reiner, and it was like, well, Kaluge decided to leave. We've got to show him the error of his ways. Obviously, there's no room to come back now. He's been replaced by False, the single Canadian amongst the Americans, the interloper, the intruder. There is an imposter among us on American Tornado. And Dark Mode, well, they have their own big friendly main tank in Gig, who's come down from Overwatch League after a fairly successful showing as a Reinhardt on LA Valiant.
And what's interesting about Gig is, yes, he's had tremendous experience in the Overwatch League, but he's not necessarily outshining that many main tanks. You know, he's really playing at the level of everyone else, and That's why you got to keep your eye on American Tornado and how they can punish that. Let's take a look at our first maps of this grand final. It is a 1-4, no advantage for the winner's bracket team besides just you get to play less matches, but an advantage that is important is American Tornado's first choice of map because they were the better seed from the last tournament and they opt for Lijiang Tower.
I do wonder if we will see any shenanigans of the Symmetra here. Symmetra kind of has become the flavor of the month when it comes to Lijiang Tower. All three of the zones are quite conducive to a Symmetra teleporter, setting up some of those turrets as well. And I wonder if it would be Hydron who picks that up, and Speedly could always play the Junkrat, especially on Control Center. We know that Speedly has quite a mean Junkrat, but also you can play something like a Symmetra Doom. The Doomfist, of course, could be considered a precautionary measure, because Doomfist can, in some cases, soft counter the Symmetra. Obviously, not great at clearing their turrets, but you leave that to the rest of your team, where the Doomfist is important is that they can make a quick insertion and engagement, get an uppercut, hit Symmetra a couple of times because she's quite squishy as a DPS, and then get out of dodge.
And I think, yeah, American Tornado might want to dodge Busan because not only have they lost to Busan to Dark Mode when they faced off in the winners finals, where Dark Mode struck them down 3-1, but you just saw American Tornado kind of flubbing Busan against Odyssey. But now picking a map to their strengths, as you would describe the Symmetra, but the Speedily Junkrat could be in the cards. But both of these teams have studied each other. And you guys, have you been studying Overwatch Contenders? Let us know your predictions, 1 or 2 in chat, or be involved in the conversation like Chris is doing using the hashtag Contenders 2021.
Speaking of study, Lemon, we have to bid a fond farewell to Sigma, our Tracer superstar from the last game. That was their last game in competitive Overwatch, at least as far as they're intending, as they are going to be leaving us to go and pursue university. So we wish them all the best in their endeavors.
American Tornado already server control, just blowing up the shield of Gig. And this is already a different look from American Tornado, playing that much more aggressive, not so sleepy like OG described in their first map. They are warmed up and ready to go. And this must be threatening for Dark Mode, who have not been playing on broadcast yet. So as a shield broke from Gig, no one from Dark Mode fell up until this re-engagement. Both teams losing one. American Tornado have turrets also on the pillar facing them. So as Dark Mode go past that 50%, they will be slowed, but hey, who's not slowing down is American Tornado, who just walked in and lasered all of them as Hydron scaled in damage, and that's the first point cap for American Tornado.
Speedily just made it so difficult for Gig to be able to do anything. So much damage was taken from those grenades. And of course, you don't need a direct line of fire either, because they are persistent projectiles with bounces. You can have that indirect fire to try and make sure that you're safe while spamming out the enemy Reinhardt. Dark Mode are going to opt into a longer rotation here, but are going to be caught out quite quickly. You remember, False was the last pick last time.
Oh, the Ant Matrix from American Tornado, walled off by Uneasy, also known as Sam or S9mm. Great Rip Tire, 6 versus 5 for American Tornado. The Photon Bearer Ant Matrix was all American Tornado really needed, actually, as Dark Mode have to reset. They might have even matched Ant Matrix. I didn't see that coming from Provide, and don't think it did much either.
Aspire and Uneasy here, they are having a lot of trouble breaking these shields. The raw hero damage that they've done, each is currently below 1,000. They haven't been able to hit many shots because Reiner and False, they're being pretty precise with how they are handling their formations, how they are handling their shield rotations, but they've got to deal now with the Blizzard.
They're all clumped up for this Gravitic Flux from False. Already deletes Gig. There are no tanks for Dark Mode. They're kind of getting smashed in, if I have to be completely honest. The American Tornado have been winning every single fight, but what's important is that it's on their terms. They're always initiating.
And those initiations, Lemon, have made it so that Dark Mode have not felt comfortable using any ults thus far. They're going to have 5 of them to try and win this next fight. Ideally, Americans to do here, they want to force out one before the point is claimed so that they can have themselves a disengage.
Gravitic Flux with the dead eye of Dark Mode. They throw the Blizzard right where American Tornado were landing, as this is so many ultimates from Dark Mode. They even threw the Shatter on top. You see how desperate they are to get this back. It is last fight, but you gotta think about the million other fights you have to win. The point does get flipped for Dark Mode. American Tornado with a very late investment on the Photon Barrier clearly thinks this is winnable with a 3 versus 3, and you still have Hydron. Maybe they are correct, but with an off-flank Shatter from Gig, He's got that pick on the Hydron, really killed the amount of damage that American Tornado had left. It is being flipped over for them at 99%. Dark Mode have to think about this last fight.
Mad scramble in overtime. I don't think anyone can touch. It will be uneasy. Manages to get there, and Gig's going to pick up the slack afterwards. OG goes down, and maybe this might be winnable for Dark Mode, but they just don't have the power. They don't have the health. They don't have the teammates, the friends, the damage, or the ultimates, Lemon, and I think this one might be a foregone conclusion.
What a statement in this grand final. 100-19, and not a single pick can be found from Dark Mode. And that was from a very risky re-engagement from American Tornado when it was 3v3. They lost Hydron to a Gig Shatter, and somehow American Tornado still won that fight, when I thought Dark Mode would have been fine.
Ultraviolet's been able to outdamage Provide by a factor of 100% thus far. 1,333 damage to 3,004. Chat thinks it's pretty close right here. Dark Mode 45%, American Tornado 55. Maybe some people were swayed by the performance Aspire showed yesterday, but unfortunately, Aspire's choices to be able to go over onto the Hangzhou, onto the Widowmaker, a little bit less viable here on Lijiang Tower. We're going to be going to the night market. Kim makes us all laugh. If only we would stop killing her son.
So, well, the TP engagement, it's like deja vu. American Tornado, they have a Diva this time, trying to negate some of this damage into Reiner, and Boogers has to provide an additional shield because Gig's shield was just shredded last round from the Junkrat and all that funny business, but that's not going to be the comp they have to worry about this time. Aspire still has to try and break in with the Symmetra. The turrets don't seem to sway Reiner's attention as they break on in, but quite squishy when you only have a Sigma leading that charge, but seems to be just enough for Dark Mode to get the first cap.
Seems like Gig got a little bit more value off of that initial engagement through the teleporter than Reiner did, as is illustrated right now with the disparity between these ultimate charges. Lemon, also Aspire, already has this photon barrier available. Hydron basically got picked off very early and has been unable to make a dent ever since. This could be a teleport shadow play right here. Look at this corner.
Someone just jumped in from American Tornado. Yep, that's speedily. Yep, he's dead again. It's just the turrets are too much. Especially, you just have to have someone deal with that. I don't love the Gig Shatter, but I'll appreciate it from afar. And I think the rest of the team were able to finish off a couple kills. And Dark Mode win their second fight.
When you say you don't love the Gig Shatter, but you appreciate it from afar, are you one of those people who, like, is going to visit a modern art museum and pretend to be cultured? You know, like, yes. An excellent contemplation upon classism in our modern era. Very nice, very nice. Right onto a very nice slam, though. Has access to that Earth Shadow, but has so many shields to get through, and of course can be stunned out of it by Uneasy.
Oh, they have Matrix. That's scary. They might want to LOS away from that. Dark Mode backing away, but Uneasy tries to join back the squad to defend. I think even Hydron TP'd them. I don't know how he got there. The down bear from American Tornado reinforces them as they don't have Speedily and they don't have Hydron. Dark Mode had a sound barrier too, but I almost didn't notice it yet because I think it only hit Oris, aka Carrots. And I think as the dust settles, Gig goes for another risky shot or gets two down. Immortality in place, all grouped up for this graphitic flux, and everyone decided 3-2-1, let's use our ultimates, and I think American Tornado have this in the bag.
Yep, 3-2-1, everybody press Q. Unfortunately, Oris was not in a good position to press Q. Might have been a victim of maybe being cut off by the Symmetra wall. That might have stopped it from reaching any of their friends, but a solo sound barrier not giving any additional staying power to the remainder of Dark Mode. We can try and get an early engagement here with a amplified fire strike, get an early pick.
Okay, that seemed a little free. Ultraviolet was posted out, probably got into a position for his own Amp Matrix and kind of walked into Provide's Amp Matrix, and Shield not there to protect American Tornado, and this is a little, mirrored on either side. Dark Mode still have to push it to the point and flip it. Gig is dangerously low. Speedily can just depend on Reiner as the TP Shatter blocked by maybe a photon barrier. Either way, this is a little bit more scrappy than I'm used to these teams playing. American Tornado Tornado still need to heal back up, especially Speedily, who's low. And they play slow off this Photon Bear. Dark Mode, wait for it to be gone, ready to re-engage. They don't have Uneasy. They did kill Ultraviolet. Resource advantage maybe for Dark Mode, but they lost Provide too. Speedily got a double kill, finished off by Boogers. And I think American Tornado, they might have won this fight, but Gig, you never count out Gig, I guess.
Oh, like Lemon at a modern art gallery. I'm going to appreciate that sound barrier from afar. Once again, Aurus only getting 2 people with this, and that could have been a major tool towards the next fight, Lemon. Sure, they got to pick onto Hydron here, but how much can Dark Mode do to claim this space when Reiner's right in their face with a slam as well? Look at him, he won't stop!
How do we send Reiner an email? How do we make him stop? A strong worded letter.
Letter of
oh
complaint.
my god. Like the OG beat meet the Reiner shatter. American Tornado, that was a quick Lijiang Tower map. A little bit more even on that second round, I would say.
We love for Reiner Shadow, the 360 nose, the 360 nose stun maybe. Coming out big here on the Reinhardt and going toe-to-toe with Gig. And while we did see some very good early signs of life, especially from Aspire on that Symmetra on Night Market, I don't know what's going on with Horus's main support at the moment. Like, these sound barriers are very, very questionable. Maybe Dark Mode is a team that just screams winnable, and if you hear your shot caller scream winnable, you have to use the sound barrier. It's just the rules, or you're gonna get kicked. But some questionable decision making left a lot of openings that an otherwise weakened American Tornado could take advantage of.
I mean, that was just a chaotic night market that just happened. I mean, people were just ulting without feeling like much of a plan, but sometimes you just depend on your teammates. Once they see a play, they go for it. Some of Gig's shatters were questionable, but they ended up still being fight wins, so I guess I'm not going to argue with the guy. He's been in Overwatch League, what do I know? But we do have, what I do know is we have a map 2. American Tornado up 1-0 in this series, but it will be up to Dark Mode to pick our second one, and it's King's Row.
Moving over to Hybrid King's Row, you would hope that this would force, if you are a Dark Mode fan, the classic Rush Mirror. A little bit less room for shenanigans when it comes to things like the Symmetra. There's still room here, especially if you're a fan of EU Overwatch, to run like a McCree and a Doomfist alongside that. And you know that Speedily is often going to opt in to that Doomfist. However, there's always the looming threat for every main tank of a May here, and you may feel that if Gig's playstyle of an incredibly aggressive Rhine is exploitable through a May wall, then perhaps you want to opt into that. Or maybe you feel like you could do more with people overextending to support Gig with a Doomfist in the back to try and get easy picks onto something like a Baptiste.
At least we have an actual map that we can compare this to. These already faced on King's Row in that winners finals, in that rematch, and it was Dark Mode that ended up winning. They held American Tornado before point B and then were able to sail on through from there, but we saw a lot more Aspire Hangzhou on defense, especially that verticality being really important, and Aspire went to McCree on the attack, so probably being in a more close range with his tanks, having that flashbang utility is quite important.
Yeah, Spire has had some nasty aim, obviously thus far mostly been playing on the Symmetra and on the back foot, so we haven't had a huge amount of space to allow Aspire to pop off and really impress all of you guys at home, but I assure you, it will come. And I think that maybe they could get a little bit out of this Hangzhou here, especially considering that Foal seems to be preferring the Sigma over the D.Va, and the D.Va can be near essential in the matchup versus Hangzhou to be able to contest those high grounds, which Hangzhou can access so easily using his wall climb.
Yeah, Hydron ended up matching that Hangzhou for sure, and Speedily kind of hovered between the May or the Echo. The May on attack, so I think, again, to just brawl right into the enemy team, have that May wall come up, play off isolation contact, and then on defense, Speedily kind of likes to lay back and just do his Echo thing, which we did not mind at all, especially after that Blizzard World we saw against Odyssey. So not the most open map to play Echo on, very narrow roads, so, you know, unlimited verticality, not so much on the horizontal side.
Yeah, it's a long map, but not a wide one, you know? It isn't a wide map happy. Going to be moving over now into the map. And another thing about the Speedily Echo is that we're seeing a little bit less blue beam action. We got to interview OG just before this matchup, and he talked about how Brigitte was essentially just as much pocket as Mercy when it came to the raw healing through the armor packs, but a lot safer, a little bit harder to exploit, especially for a talented hit scan like Aspire. But while we do say Aspire's name a lot, it feels like Uneasy is always sort of like the silent carry in the background, making sure targets are softened up, making sure that no one's looking the way of Aspire, and managing to support Gig and Boogersnot in the front line. Man, that feels weird to say.
I mean, Uneasy was such a, aka Sam, was just such an incredible Genji player during the Genji meta. I think that's when he was really discovered on those teams, and he was kind of team swapping so much because everyone wanted a piece of Sam, and now he's on Dark Mode, I think one of the best teams in this tournament, under a different name this time. I don't know why. Maybe he was tired of S9mm, but American Tornado will be on the offense first. And my big question for them is, are they going back to the double-double, or double-double? Hey, that sounds like a coffee, but the double bubble, or do they want to try and mirror that rush? Because it seems like American Tornado are the better rush team.
Oh, I forgot American Tornado do not mind playing a little bit of Bulldozer. They can play it on the defense here, less so on the offense, but we have seen, I think, Reiner and False play the Reinhardt Winston for a lot of cleave and a very early hold. We are going to see Hanzo versus Hanzo. I would give the edge to Aspire in this duel. I don't think it's Hydron's best hero, but it is still a part of his skill set.
There's people talking about how Hanzo isn't as consistent because it's not hit scan, so you kind of have to adjust your aim, and a Maywall, and they just pound Gig to another existence, and Dark Mode don't have the main tank. They have a shield of boogers. Reiner's being frozen, but I don't know about a Lucio May engage into 6 people of American Tornado. Picked off Ultraviolet. I think OG can still hang on, but I wonder if this is enough to slow down American Tornado's push.
A huge boot there. Actually isolated Ultraviolet. Great work from Aurus, but the timing on the Maywall was essential there from Speedily. Locks off the Immortality field and provides a backboard to pin Gig into.
Oh, the point's about to be capped. Dark Mode have to make a decision now. They post up. Gig is frozen. Immortality in place, but bursted from Hydron at range as he takes a room back in Hotel left side, and that's an off angle that Dark Mode needs to shut down, but when you can't keep your toes on the point, it doesn't really matter what Hydron's doing. That's 5.5 minutes, and the point within the first fight.
Aspire not going to get any exit frags there, and will get the long spawn. So with those late kills onto Dark Mode, it's likely that American Tornado here will not have to fight for the Archway, which is one of the primary defensive geographies of Point B of King's Row Lemon. And that's going to be great news to the overall time bank of American Tornado, because they don't have to fight for that Archway. That means they only have to do 2 fights on this point, once in the midway section around where Reiner's playing now, and then once at the end. And they've still got 4 minutes and 45 seconds and a bunch of ultimates to play with.
Oh my god, that Amp Matrix Fire Strike almost, singeing. Yeah. If I clinched, imagine what Uneasy did there, because he got down so low. Great first pick for Dark Mode on this defense. The Dragon Strike pierces through the lane. A response from Hydron and a Sound Bear investment too. Tried to save Reiner, but too little and too late. Now Gravitic Flux investment from the defense catches a bunch and will finish off this fight in favor of the defense.
A messy fight there from American Tornado, investing 3 ultimates in the process as well. And this has given time for Gig to catch up on Ult Charge. Uneasy, the same story here. Aurus, I gave you some hatred, you know, for your performance with the sound barriers on Lijiang Tower. Here I want to see you use it to counteract the Gravitic Flux.
There's a Blizzard from the defense, Gravitic Flux from the offense, and the Blizzard thrown on top by Speedily. Uneasy countered that, but the Sound Bear, like you said, from Aurus was enough to give Dark Mode a huge early fight advantage, picking off OG. Immortality already used. Reiner shatters a shield, but that's fine. Maybe thought he could bait Gig to put his down once Reiner's shield was much more broken, but I think without tanks, the spirits of American Tornado are broken only for now. Still 3.5 minutes to get through.
Actually, very good management of resources there from a Dark Mode support line. No, Aurus did not use Sound Barrier to counteract with Gravitic Flux in particular, but that was because Dark Mode was so grouped up there that they could all be protected by a singular Immortality field from Provide. So Aurus could save that to counteract with Speedily's Blizzard. And now American Tornado, they are low on resources to try and win out this fight.
That was almost such a good Maywall from Speedily into the Amp Matrix. Dark Mode were cornered for just 3 or 4 seconds, which could have been enough to get that first pick and just blow open point B. But American Tornado now approach another Maywall. There is a crack. Gig does get through. Frozen up. Immortality comes up to save Speedily and Reiner, who are being so aggressive, but we're divided by the Dragon Strike of Aspire. Now you have a pick for the defense, evened up by Speedily. You got a Gravitic Flux from False. Most of Dark Mode are going to be hit by this, and the Salamander from Horus wasn't ready in time. And that was enough. Dark Mode taking over this fight, and the payload has been left at the end of point B, which is such a long trek for American Tornado to get to.
False right now is trying to put his carry pants on. He's almost twice the damage of the next leading member of American Tornado. 5k at the moment. Dark Mode, they have a healthy ultimate bank here, and American Tornado, what was once a weighty 5-minute time bank, so reassuringly heavy in the pocket, are finding themselves a little bit stuck here.
Yeah, they might have to wait for Hydron and maybe wish they could take that fight when it was narrow for that Dragon Strike. The Gig Shatter, he let the shield up. The Dragon pierces through. Now it's plan B for American Tornado. The Blizzard to make that road for the payload to slip into point B. But an uneasy counter Blizzard kind of slowed down and make this no man's land in between the two teams. But now that that's gone, Reiner can just keep swinging because there's just no one left from Dark Mode to say anything about it. There will be a touch this time from Gig. He was the first to fall in that last fight, but I think without the team, there's no chance he's taking that.
The old jump and swing right there. Speedly's moved over onto the Echo, but I don't know if it was just for a quicker respawn. Although if that was the case, she probably would have gone Soldier instead of having to track back on the May. I wonder how the Echo fits in here. Is it going to be that Hydron and Speedly play the same off angle together to try and make Gig turn his shield and facilitate Reiner of a big slam?
Reiner's getting walled up from a team. He doesn't even care. His shield is so healthy, especially with that Ant Matrix out from Ultraviolet. They have the damage advantage. Both Rines bumping into each other. Gig is much less healthy, and the immortality from Ultraviolet made so Reiner won that 1v1. So swinging away at the last couple of reinforcements of Dark Mode. Dark Mode gotta hope they can have a stop here. American Tornado are inching towards the end of the map.
Look at this time bank as well. 2 minutes still. The Dragon Strike is going to lock down the left-hand side. The same can be said of the Earth Shatter. Still, someone has got out to touch this cart, and it's going to be Uneasy who does so. Boogers wants to try and rescue it, but guess who's ready and on call? It's OG with the sound barrier, and Boogers will stand by themselves until Horus slides on in, but can't slide to the payload, which slides itself to the finish with a healthy time bank, Lemon.
2 minutes, very solid. I was kind of a little bit worried about American Tornado of how they lost a fight at the end of point B, and that's usually where a lot of teams start getting full held at, because it's such a long road to get there, but they just always have a surplus of ultimates, and their efficiency and value that they get out of it is big. And Uneasy, all he could do is counter Blizzard, but every time he counter Blizzards, American Tornado just have a support ultimate ready. They have an immortality ready, and I feel like Ultraviolet, kind of underrated of how much of an impact he's had to keep Reiner alive in these Rein matchups.
You're very wise, Obi-Wan, and I'm very proud of you. I know that's not the exact quote, it's kind of turned around, but I'm going to miss Sigma too. But, you know what? You wouldn't want to miss this big grand finals. Tell your nan, tell your boyfriend, tell your girlfriend, tell your dog. The Contenders is live, baby. And make sure that you subscribe and hit the bell so that you never miss a single action-packed match.
If I had a dog, it wouldn't care about tier 2 unless I put like a treat in front of it. But I also don't have a dog, so
wow, you got bad taste in dogs, Lemon.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. American Tornado on the May defense and not bringing out the Echo. I think they just believe that their rush is better and they want to have a May to just enable Reiner as much as they can.
I think so. They're trying to take advantage of Gig's positioning, and Speedly, a very cerebral player, one of the best in North America. It's time for Aspire to activate those carry pants. We haven't seen too much of him from this side. Only getting 3 final blows thus far.
It's a very cold sandwich of May walls happening right now, and Dark Mode don't look too healthy. Gig bursted at a distance from Ultraviolet, and with the respawn advantage for American Tornado, they might lose False, but they'll get them back a lot quicker than Gig, as Boogers is low. Probably going to be killed up by Provide. And American Tornado, I think they can just play off the Ant Matrix, play slow, and play into the hands of Dark Mode.
Yeah, once Aspire is able to fire through the Ant Matrix, it isn't going to happen though. Hydron wins the Hangzhou duel. And now guess what? You've got to get out of dodge. Here's going to be an investment from Ultraviolet. The Dark Mode ain't going to stick around. They don't want to take this under mana. They don't want to give away those double damage ult charges to American Tornado. They'd rather live to fight another day and live to fight with this amplification measure that can force American Tornado off the point, mind you.
Dark Mode can more easily disengage from an Ant Matrix, while as American Tornado not so much. They have one tiny hotel, they rotate behind the Ant Matrix, try to zone them off, but an important freeze locks down Reiner. That first pick for the offensive Dark Mode, who are collecting 2 and a 3rd tick, as Aspire from above not only wins that Hangzhou 1v1 against Hydron, but gets his revenge. American Tornado sent away. 5 minutes for Dark Mode to go into point B.
10 elims to 5 deaths. It was a slow start for Aspire, but slowly making up for it at the moment. Has access, of course, to that Dragon Strike, and it can be a very good follow-up to the Gravitic Flux, especially when you consider that people are going to get slammed down, locked in place. That could be into a dragon, mind you, but you need to be very conscientious when going for that control that both ultimates don't get countered by the same immortality field.
Gravitic Flux first trigger pulled by Dark Mode, catches a bunch of American Tornado, and OG doesn't even need to use the Sound Barrier. The immortality was enough because American Tornado threw up Blizzard and a dragon. So no kills, but American Tornado didn't die. So Gravitic Flux this time from False with the shatter of Reiner and everything unleashed from Dark Mode to survive this. And Blizzard from Uneasy got so much value. I mean, Reiner just can't play the game. I think Dark Mode should be able to pull through. They only lost Aspire through all of that, which is very surprising.
Yeah, and Aspire took care of so many by himself as well. Reinstalling Overwatch, what I love to see. It can just allow his shield to heal up for another second as Speedly once again moves over onto the Echo. Not finding enough value here out of the May, seemingly, as we head into the final fight of point B. Dark Mode have a very healthy time bank.
Ooh, Ant Matrix, Fire Strikes can be deadly, can one-shot a support, so it looks like Dark Mode, good for now, stabilizing, but they've given up so much space to American Tornado. Dark Mode just trying to play this corner so they can regenerate their shield a little bit safer, so American Tornado don't have any ultimates, and it might be the range duel between Aspire and Hydron, or even Speedily now that he's on the Echo. Dark Mode lose on Easy and Aspire, they don't have DPS,
oh my goodness.
But a shatter from Gig might just open this up, but Carolee keeps swinging. American Tornado were able to disengage. Not too many picks came through. Dark Mode lost Provide, and that's a lot of healing that this offense needed to keep going. And speaking of which, I don't think they can keep going. I think Gig knows that too.
Goodbye, Gig. Goodbye, Aurus. American Tornado there. That pick onto Provide was so critical, and once you lose your Baptiste, you're essentially on a ticking clock. Hydron's stats right now a little bit better compared to Aspire, but that is off the back of a very successful attacking round to be 22 and 4. At the beginning of this round, I did cast some aspersions and doubts upon Hydron and his Hangzhou, but I think he's been hanging quite comfortably with Aspire, who's now been forced to move over onto the McCree, which is a little bit more reliable when attacking Speedily.
Oh, 3 or 4 person Gravitic Flux from False, and they manage on the right side of that May wall to finish off Provide, and that's enough for Dark Mode to just wait. And maybe American Tornado, if they were feeling themselves, they could have sped in and maybe got a few more picks, but Dark Mode will be playing off the Ant Matrix. They want to take this fight in a long lane.
Good news here is that Aurus didn't use the Sound Barrier to try and counteract that Flux. I imagine they all had the EMO field to try and survive. They're going to get caught in a Gravitic Flux of their own, and that is going to be countered by the barrier.
Aurus still has his if Dark Mode want a Sound Barrier engage, as American Tornado are running, and Reiner tried to juke him out, might have caught 1 or 2 with the shatter, but just more of a scare tactic. Looks like Dark Mode rounding the corner, but the Stormbow of Hydron on that mid-platform high ground just picked them up, and now you have the Blizzard from Uneasy. It freezes at least half of American Tornado, and the Sound Barrier to finish off the fight, but I mean, you can't really reach a lot of the people that American Tornado have left. Ultraviolet's on the high ground, Hydron's over here, and Dark Mode, I don't know if I love that Sound Barrier. I'm still going to appreciate it from afar, though.
They're being picked apart by a swarm of mosquitoes, Lemon. American Tornado are everywhere. Wherever you look, there's a member plinking away at you with too much damage, and they just could not heal through it. Dark Mode, it looked so good for them when they got their early picks there. But once again, they have to deal with Hydron's Dragon Strike, and that could force out an immortality. Oh, that feels bad. Aspire is not enjoying Overwatch today.
Hydron kind of popping off. I think most of the time since they've been at point B, he's been able to get a first pick, and often is the last one still alive and kind of turns around these fights. So how are Dark Mode going to possibly dislodge him from this back high ground? Because I don't think you can leave Hydron alone.
So difficult. Oh my god, it's happening again. That's just
Not
Yet
again.
Hangzhou right there. That's Yet Hangzhou as As pure yet Panzer as ever it could be. Uneasy tries... Oh, they tried to teleport into the pub, but now we got to disengage. And okay, Hydron, I'm going to need you to calm down, or I'm going to call you... I will turn this car around.
We have Reaper at home, but when you swap to Reaper to take that 1v1, and it's not going to work out, the final fight for Dark Mode, or American Tornado, will be up 2-0 in this series. It starts with a Dragon Strike in the middle of the road that Dark Mode wanted to walk into, forces out the Immortality of Provide. They are still standing. A little weak, still wobbly, still standing. That's all that matters. Gravitic Flux now from both sides. Who will be getting more value? Dark Mode don't have enough healers. They don't have enough people on the cart, so American Tornado will now be leading our grand final 2-0.
And remember, that timeback was about 5 minutes to get B. But they just lost about 2 minutes to Hydro just saying, oh, about that push. I'm going to go ahead and say nope, doing his best Legolas impression. And oh my goodness, it was a bloody good impression. Hydron showing us that yesterday, Aspire may have been the carry, may have been the slayer of Dark Mode, may have struck fear into the hearts of many American Tornado fans who believed that potentially when it came to DPS differentials, they were impossible to beat. But Hydron returning right now is looking so good.
Yeah, I wonder if getting off the Hanzo that was matching Aspire and going for the McCree was like, okay, maybe if we don't look at it, it won't be as threatening. You know, you don't look at Hydron, maybe he's just not there. But Hydron was getting first fight picks almost every single time, and there was no one to contest him. There is no person that can dive. You only have your range of maybe a BAP and maybe McCree, but you're kind of all focused at point B of just running over the enemy tanks. So I kind of wish the Hanzo stuck around. I understand that it, especially as the attacking team going to point B, you don't have the best sightlines compared to what Hydron had to deal with. And I was worried about how American Tornado were to get through to point B. They proved me wrong, but Dark Mode proved me right. Point B is hecka hard to get through.
Yeah, if I was torn apart on so many pushes by early picks from Hanzo, I'd be a little bit tilted, so I need a second to recuperate my mental. And we're going to be giving that second over now to Dark Mode as we head into a quick break. Don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen, because the action ain't done yet.
just a new chapter in Contenders.
All these different teams are going to have actually kind of their own identity. The start of this season gives me so much hope for the rest of the year.
Especially against the Doomfist as legendary as Danade. Getting the one up on them in the Doomfist differential is definitely a big boon here for Backbone.
Ultraviolet with the Ant Matrix.
Ultraviolet playing Aim Trainer with his burst. The Baby Diva kills both for DPS.
Ryder with the double.
I am in absolute awe.
So Odyssey might want to call a push here.
That's Blue Caminos. Oh my, Ultraviolet popped the trance, ran it into Sigma. What a play from Ultraviolet.
I'm watching Sigma to see where this pulse bomb can go, and you don't even need it. All you gotta do is depend on Sigma, because he makes a movie out of Overwatch.
When Speedily turns 18, bidding war.
That is the Speedily diff.
Seeker here, doing a lot of damage, and Seeker's someone who we definitely have to highlight.
Seeker killed both of them.
Every single member of his team right now is doing what they need to do. They are popping off perfectly.
There are no more second chances.
Fuki right here. If I could get a bit. Oh, it's a nut splash.
Oh my
Into a big
God.
slab.
British Hurricane have not ascended to godhood yet. Hell, double fire strike on the Solar and Hades.
Dude, we've got a series on our hands.
Whoa, the double move! Oh, gee!
EXO was never supposed to be here, and yet here they are.
Having to do that insane lower bracket run, a little greedy from Ice.
Icy.
If you thought this was not going to go down to the very wire, well, you were dead wrong.
It was just a fluke, screamed OG after American Tornado was summarily slapped down to the losers bracket 3-1 in a huge performance of power from Aspire, and having to claw their way through Odyssey to get back to this point. Maybe it was 2-0 right now for American Tornado, looking pretty powerful thus far. And now we're going to be going over to another game mode, but this is one where Aspire is definitely going to be checked on once again.
And our map chosen by Dark Mode is Havana. And these teams, of course, have played Havana before, but specifically against each other even. Where last time on Havana, it was Dark Mode that won it. And they even brought out some silly stuff. They had Uneasy play Genji without an Ana. They had Aspire, who was on Widow. And it was against some snipers also of American Tornado. So I think the Genji might come back, but only if they think they want to enable Aspire's Widow more, if that even comes out.
Yes, Lemon, they have indeed spent most of their lives living in a widow's paradise. Every time we went to Havana for a while, I had to talk about what a fruitful area is to try and hold defensively with the Widowmaker. And for a long time, I looked a fool, to be honest, because so many teams opted into a close hold with the Reinhardt, even when it wasn't particularly meta. And I imagine we're going to see something similar here from the defense of American Tornado. The question is, will Aspire try and break that by using a Widowmaker off angle? Will we see a Pharah attempt to break it by playing on top of the spawn? It would be much easier to do if we see False come out on the Sigma, because one of the main troubles you have to deal with as an attacking Pharah, if you want to try and break the spawn hold from playing on top of spawn, is that the Diva can come up and just duel you while sliding down.
I mean, Hydron, when he started in Contenders, or when he started getting popular, it was like he was only substituted in to play Widow and Widow maps, and ever since then has been able to expand his hero pool. So to go on a sniper map against Hydron, like where Hydron would be born, would probably be on a map like Havana. And then you have to go against Speedily, who might match the Hangzhou, and that's been pretty solid. But if Speedily's not feeling that range, he can bring out the Echo. This has a lot of skies, especially on point A, that an Echo could be good on, but point B, not so much.
Yeah, the point B is, once again, another great map for Widow. So many cheeky angles that are so hard to check simultaneously. The brewery drums in the center, also a really good staging ground for something like a Hangzhou, if you can move between the accessible high ground and the even further high ground, easily using the wall climbs. American Tornado will be attacking first here, and Dark Mode on their first defense will be be rolling out with this close range composition. I mean, there's no reason why you wouldn't try and run for rush defense at the beginning of Havana, in my opinion, just because basically you're being cheeky. You're checking to see how much you can do with this first fight, how much you can deny in terms of time bank.
Especially on defense for Havana, especially dark mode like to play that close range brawl. If we see the Widow, it might be to serve up or react to what American Tornado are bringing out, but it will be the brawl for the rush versus rush, but with a Sigma beside them. So maybe playing on an off-him angle, maybe trading out shields, but it's Hydron on the back that no one noticed. Got a stun onto Horus. That's a critical pick for the offense because the offense, their spot is right there, guys. So any pick for American Tornado is going to favor them. Dark mode didn't really have an impact at all that fight.
Yeah, and one of the critical things there was that while Hydron only got the kill onto Horus, his movement kept both Aspire and Uneasy occupied for a frankly embarrassing amount of time. Which meant that Ryder was free to do whatever he wanted. Speedy right now, waiting on the information to come through from the tanks. What will Reiner Telecom say? Will isolate Gig, but everyone else has been able to move aside and back him up.
Quick rotation with the speed of Horus. Aspire wins that McCree duel, and, well, Reiner finished off in that process. American Tornado only have one tank left and one healer because Uneasy is such a threat. American Tornado, they had this whole setup, and all Dark Mode had to do was speed around it and then speed into them.
Yeah, maybe not the greatest of walls there when one side is only bottled in by a car that can be jumped over easily. So, maybe they're hoping to get a little bit more off that isolation. Now you've got to think about the poke. Aspire and Uneasy are going to be able to whittle down American Tornado's shield as they move through this area. And of course, they can do double damage as well if Provide deems it appropriate to give them that window.
Yeah, Matrix, pretty deep into the point there for American Tornado, and just maybe forcing Dark Mode to look away, which they do, but getting closer now to the end of A. Dark Mode used theirs. I think it was walled off by Speedily, but keep in mind these shatters are online. Gig's shield is dangerously low. He goes on to a shatter to get this May out of the picture, so she can't ice block in time. Gig's pin might have finished off Reiner, but with no tanks, is about this gravitic flux from Boogers and False as well. And the Sound Bear might have been late, not needed, but American Tornado will still be getting A.
One worrying trend, though, is that Reiner has been caught without the ability to countercharge, or missing the countercharge twice now by Gig, taking out 2 fights in a row by the 300 burst damage delivery. And Dark Mode there, they decided to give up so much space to hide away from Ultraviolet's amplification matrix that they eventually just ended up not being able to touch the cart. They're rotating out of the cover given by their wall. What are you doing? You have 2 shields in a wall and you decide to peek at a creature in Deadeye? What?
And even no immortality, that's a free insurance against Deadeyes, as the wall did kind of miss and the shield is broken by Gig, but American Tornado still have to push the cart, so they don't want to like spawn camp them again. So American Tornado on this high ground. Shatter be shatter. It's the Blizzard first from Uneasy. Speedily throws his 2. Dark Mode have to go through main to touch, and both Reinhardt's bumping into each other, but Ryder was 50 HP and out of LOS from his supports. But despite losing a Reinhardt, that's the only thing American Tornado lost. They're about to get point B.
You saw the tweet. Hydron doesn't want to make you a liar, trying to be number 1 DPS in A right now. Gig comes in from the back, might get stunned by a rock, as Reiner's going to be returning all the way from the spawn to go up against a team that doesn't currently have themselves a main tank. Boogers is going to try and keep this car contested. The boot Deadeye gets nothing, but a slam gets more.
So chaotic for the end of point B. You have the Gig that had to get Sound Bear by Horus just to live. Didn't live long enough, and American Tornado thought they had the advantage, but Dark would have closer respawns at this point, so they were able to reinforce much quicker. American Tornado kept using ultimates despite that, but they have a few more for this next one.
It was Hell of a sell at the back right there, using those Mables to bring so many people into close combat. I mean, Gig finally arrives, and no one really expects for Ryan Inquisition coming in from the back. False and Boogers, they both have their gravitic fluxes, and neither Lucia is going to be able to answer these. So you need to see productive use of the Immortality Field.
Is American Tornado getting lifted up by the gravitic flux, but False doing the same thing. The Maywall comes down just in time for the shatter. Gig gets booped away from his playground, and Dark Mode have to join his side towards the end of the point. American Tornado play off the Ant Matrix. Good Maywall from Uneasy. The Blizzard Rhino tries to pin out of it. Still frozen. Gig can just keep swinging. But the sound barrier from American Tornado put fear in Gig's eyes. And, well, when he's dead, I think he was right on that. Dark Mode still have lost 2. And American Tornado have everyone involved. It's 6 versus 4. And even without Ultraviolet, it's only Aspire left from Dark Mode to touch. Hydron comes in from downtown, finishes him, and American Tornado can go into point C.
Hydron enter stage right, and Flash and Fan. Trying to block people off from disengaging right here. Reiner's hungry for blood. That's a nice Flash Fan coming through once more from Hydron, and that is going to be the ammo field burned as well. That's a lot to be spent, unless Reiner just decides to peek that, which he does. So American Tornado are going to lose a little bit of momentum here, but it won't take long for Reiner to re-engage.
American Tornado starting that Deadeye near the card. Gig keeps his shield up, and Booger somehow gets booped. Yeah, they started disengaging towards Coast, and there's all these environmental kills, and Shatter's doing a lot for American Tornado. They throw these speedily Blizzard just in case. You have some Lucius playing on the left side, but wow, American Tornado with a flawless fight there.
Man, Reiner's armor must be made of horseshoes and four-leaf clovers, dude, to not get killed by that boop. That is manic. Wait, the solo Flux? Oh no, they're going up against their old teammate, and they say that no, Boogers, you do not get to survive this. We will establish that we have the Alpha Sigma by solo Flux if we need to. And we'll even back it up with an amplification matrix. American Tornado, they do a little trolling.
So BM, but Boogers, he'll have the clap back. He has his Gravitic Flux. They're all coming out the same side. It's being summoned now. Most of American Tornado hit. No, G didn't have the sound barrier in time. He's just getting it now. Tries to use it immediately to save Reiner, but he was already finished. But maybe an advantage American Tornado can play. They get the trade off to Gig, and Falsus won. This is supposed to be the hardest map to attack into, and American Tornado were looking good up until they lost Ultraviolet. Aspire on the Hangzhou is always scary. And now only 1 minute 15 left for this attack.
But now it's Worry City, because you're going up against Aspire on Havana Sea, and he's going to have access to the high ground, and you have to commute your way to this car. And moving through this area against the Aspire Hangzhou, this is when we start seeing the casualties that doomed the King's Row push of Dark Mode. Those random headshots, those undermanned pushes that they would result in can drain a time bank so terribly.
Oh, the Deadeyes are so scary. You don't know where they're coming from. Where'd you come from? Where'd you go? There's a Blizzard now from Dark Mode. Locking down this cart separates the tanks from the supports, and Reiner will feel that in the morning. False is left, joins back the supports to play off the Ant Matrix of Ultraviolet. Dark Mode don't have Gig. He'll be back soon. Respawn advantage for Dark Mode as Boogers unleashes the Gravitic Flux. I think it got canceled, or he didn't get anything out of it. Aspire Dragon Strike gets 2, and American Tornado have to reset in the last critical seconds of their offense.
There is actually a well-done clip by Bad Pachamari of the same player, Boogers, missing another Gravitic Flux on this particular map. Right now, though, American Tornado have to make their way to the car. Oh, they managed to intercept OG on his way. Is he going to die? He will not die, Lemon, but what an interception from Horus. It isn't a completion from American Tornado, but it's good enough. This is winnable. But man, what a last point defense from Dark Mode. And the thing is, they managed to continuously take care of Reiner. Gig managed to get them multiple times, I think pinning them off the back of Gravitic Fluxes to make sure that there was no counterpin available for Reiner, because since he was technically controlled at that point, he could not hit the pin button to get that mutual stun and was guaranteed to be hit with a 300 damage burst.
I think there's like a literal montage by writers where I'm like, oh gee, like on this map, and I sound like a type of bird, but that's because OG is such a menace on this point of Havana.
The mating call of a lemon kiwi rings out over the beaches of Cuba.
I mean, he has E in his name. I'm gonna squeak, okay? Another person who I think went unnoticed is Uneasy. That Blizzard to separate the tanks from American Tornado, and Reiner ended up dying there. American Tornado wanted to play aggressive there, and then that Blizzard made them hesitate. It's kind of hard to mess up a Blizzard on such a small area of the map, but they have been very, very valuable. Uneasy, just the entirety of this Havana has been really good.
All right, Lemon, the gauntlet is thrown. American Contender have made it out of spawn on this double sniper. Aspire may well have seen it through the window right here and has already opted into the duel. But remember, Aspire is going to be lacking in shielding with Gig playing on this wrecking ball unless they opt into going back onto the Orisa. So Hydron's going to have the inherent advantage of defensive positioning.
On Easy, last time he faced double snipers, he went Genji. You have that verticality, you can climb. You have a blade that might be kind of useless without a nano. It's just very scary without that damage mitigation and boost. But a Tracer can't go to high grounds unless there's a staircase guiding her. So I don't know what you're going to do against Hydron. So it's just going to be up to Aspire to kill Hydron. And that's not good to happen.
You know what? Aspire says I'll take it. Ultraviolet falls elsewhere to Gig. And guess what? Now the divers have arrived and Speedly needs to get out of dodge. OG is going to get, is going to have to make a choice right now as to who to follow. Hydron, though, evidently revived and not done yet, but False is going to fall. Still, with both American Tornadoes DPS alive, this is far from over. A nice blink melee, but running out of momentum, you can just try and play for attrition here.
Well, he proves to me that the Tracer might just be better against snipers and that consistent burst damage, especially when you're able to 1 or 2 clip them. It's just, if Hydron goes back to that top left cafe sign area, that's when, that's kind of up to you, Aspire, and Aspire did the job right. Dark would still have to push the cart, have some cart presence. It's up to really Boogers to be on there, but he doesn't want to be there on his own. And meanwhile, there's a flank from Uneasy. It's the pulse to finish off Reiner. That's a momentary advantage only for Dark Mode until Ultraviolet beams down Aspire. And you see that Dark Mode is still getting into position to flank.
Provide quite low right now, but we'll be given over a quick armor pack to make sure that they aren't going to be too vulnerable to the machinations of Speedly. They might have trouble trying to make an approach here because you know that's going to be watched quite astutely by Aurus. That's the main change in philosophy between these two teams, the Brigitte versus the Mercy.
See Gig getting on the cart with Boogers, getting ready for a gravitic flux. If he can put them all grouped up, I'll clump them up like a happy pain sandwich. And well, it's the gravitic flux from False that happens first. And while Dark Bolt were just waiting for the perfect ultimate, American Tornado, they pull the trigger first. It happens. Gravitic flux catches those supports though from Boogers, but just not the damage follow-up to finish off those targets. American Tornado with the picks too, with the snipers. Aspire might win that duel, but American Tornado still have more numbers.
Aspire back and with a vengeance, but yeah, Hydron getting resurrected here is going to present some major problems for the momentum, but Dark Mode thought that they'd... Okay, never mind, it's fine.
Well, now it's an advantage for this offense. It's minute 20. Somebody's actually on the cart pushing. Gets contested at the last second. The mines laid by Gig will get False dangerously low as Reiner wants to do the same thing. The Transcendence would provide to just get... Maybe could have waited for Reiner's mines to come out. Now the point and the payload is being occupied by the defense. American Tornado still losing a little bit. OG having to think about the Ultraviolet resurrect. Speedily was found, and Dark Mode found the end of point A. Took them a while though.
It did. Now that time bank is going to feel quite the pressure as we move on here. Aspira's ran out of infrasites though, and Hydron's going to have a significant advantage. Alas, Speedly having to come into this area. If Aspire has a good sightline, it's going to be very difficult, especially if you get hit with a Discord orb. You can die to a single body shot from a Widow, but you can be down to a headshot from a Widow first.
There's not a lot of room to operate for Widowmakers, but Hydron's in the power position of this map. Not the best mine. Stupid lamp. Dark Mode have Boogers, who's got Discord Orb on him. He got below 50% HP, but no first pick from American Tornado yet. I'm wondering if Dark Mode are going to want to push right side or how they're just going to access someone like Hydron.
Speedly for now. Feeling the lack of health packs is in enemy territory. Needs to try and bounce away, but surrounded by enemies upon all sides. That's going to be engagement coming through from Gig. That's going to be a crucial miss from Hydron. That will allow Gig to escape, and that will provide a bunch of healing to try and build up towards this Transcendence.
Mine's maybe a bit of a miss from Gig too. I don't think anyone was caught from that. Gravitic Flux slams down False, and that's an opening that Dark Mode can work with. They're actually on the car pushing it through while Uneasy clears up his backline. Goes the stick! Gets OG! Dark Mode are in a comfortable position. Not the best one, because half their team is currently dead. The Horus rally has been started. They want to maximize their distance, but the Transcendence from Ultraviolet re-anchors and restabilizes American Tornado. Look like they've warded off Dark Mode for now.
Ultraviolet decided that their remaining relevant in this fight with that Transcendence was what was needed, and it feels like American Tornado certainly have re-established a little bit of a foothold on this point. And to be fair, it wasn't a terrible move from Ultraviolet, because now they're basically in sync with the Gravitic Flux again, which is going to be the main answer case for that ultimate. Alas, now they're going to have to move on to point, and False has already lost a huge amount of shield health.
Gig has been chased down. Yeah, no friends. Dark Mode also losing Horus. The range poke of Ultraviolet kind of deadly, kind of nasty. American Tornado have been holding this point B for so long, and with how difficult it was for Dark Mode to get A, I'm starting to be a little bit concerned about how this point B is going to go.
It is going to be an absolute mountain for Dark Mode to climb. Let's see if they can summit it. They don't really have the resources to do so, but False was stunned somewhere at the moment. Maybe a long range. Maybe a long range rock hitting them. Gig falling low. Speedily going to keep the pressure on. Aspire needs to do something, but Hydron strikes first.
Yeah, as Hydron is finding value quicker when Aspire is taking all this time to aim up the shot. I mean, to be fair, when 3 people are running at you as Widowmaker, maybe you're a little bit stressed out, okay? American Tornado, they have a lot of ultimates. Dark Mode coming up to some of their own, but 20 seconds the last fight. Or American Tornado go to series point on during the finals. This is scary.
Okay, so Speedily is revealed up here by the Infrasight. The counter Infrasight is going to come through from Hydron, so Uneasy is going to be equally revealed. Speedily managing to hold their place here.
Provide Transcendence saves his life, guides Dark Mode back towards the point where it's overtime, and they have to stay on it as Speedily gets found by Horus. And now American Tornado, they have their own Transcendence, and with OG down, they might think they need the resources. As they start to back away, group back up for one last final push. American Tornado depending on Hydron as Speedily was taken care of. Now the Transcendence comes out from Ultraviolet to reinforce Reiner, but maybe too late because the Gravitic Flux is going to do a lot of damage from Boogers, but the supports are dead from Dark Mode, and when you don't have the healing, this fight's going to be almost impossible for this attack to take, and in overtime, it goes away. American Tornado take Havana, go to series point in our grand final.
While it might have been an impressive performance, Lemon, from both of our teams, more consistently we saw picks being gotten by Hydron, Speedily finding openings, Ultraviolet getting a little bit more. One of the most telling escapades, I think, in that was in the final fight, we saw Uneasy get picked by a Wrecking Ball, rolling on through, and that was because the Fireball, actually did 65 damage. It was boosted by the Discord Orb, so that it was enough to finish off Uneasy. And they couldn't dodge that incoming Wrecking Ball because they just didn't have the resources left. Ultraviolet, Speedily, and Reiner, they are a hive mind when it came to that defensive dive. And I think that's what scuppered Dark Mode's offense so much, even with Aspire being able to get so much done on the Widow.
And how the turns have tabled when in the winners finals these two teams faced. Dark Mode was the one winning 3-1. And now they are down 0-3 in the match that matters the most, but it's not over yet. It is 1-4 in our finals. So American Tornado have, Dark Mode have the choice of map of where we're going to go to next. And I don't really have any recommendations because they've had all the map choices so far and they just haven't had a break.
I wouldn't recommend Volskaya because Volskaya is quite conducive to solid double bubble approach. And we know that American Tornado are probably the most adept team in North American Contenders at the moment at Double Bubble. But at the same time, do you want to go to Temple of Anubis when you know how good the defensive Doom and the defensive Echo are? Would you go to Hanamura and opt into a Rush Mirror? Maybe, but you had so much trouble on King's Row, which is essentially Rush versus Rush all the way down, that it feels like there's no good choice here for Dark Mode. So hopefully they've got a pocket strat to surprise me with.
would maybe dodge Temple of Anubis. I mean, that was the map they faced off on in that winners final, but they actually drew that. It was very, very close. Uneasy brought out more Sombra and Torb actually to try and defend against the speedily Echo. That's
just
a
cursed image.
It does, yeah, a little bit. But as our map set shows, we get the answer from Dark Mode of where they want to throw us to next, and it will be Volskaya Industries.
Maybe they watched that last round and they think, you know what? These guys have had trouble with Volskaya. Their fix seems to be to go over onto the Roadhog. We don't mind playing Provide on the Ana on the defense. We don't mind opting in to the Gig Winston potentially. And of course, Volskaya is an area that is famous for being very much locked down by long-range hit scan. Aspire being able to flex on the Ashe here, I think, will be a huge asset to Dark Mode. And while I do worry about a potential double bubble versus double bubble matchup just based on Reiner versus Gig on Winston versus Winston, overall, maybe this could be the best area when you consider how poorly the rush matchup went on King's Row and how good the defensive Echo can be on Temple of Anubis.
Well, maybe Dark Mode have an answer. Or sorry, American Tornado have an answer. They've substituted Iced back in for Speedily. So no Speedily Echo. I know Fire Echo could be good on Volskaya, you know, unlimited skies, but what's even better than Echo and a Speedily Echo, which is hard to beat, is double hit skin. The main reason why Iced is always summoned back for, I guess, 100% map win rate so far. So, hey, I don't mind.
This could also be, with both Hydron and Iced in, this could be dictated, Lemon, by Tracer versus Tracer, and can Uneasy defeat Hydron? We saw Iced really hit his stride in the second round of Volskaya, really came alive against Odyssey. And you know what? If Iced has been in the aim trainer, if he's been doing some Widowmaker lobbies while this match has been going on, if he's still at that level, Dark Mode have a gargantuan task ahead of them.
Maybe Dark Mode also picked this, whether they have the option of running Uneasy Sombra, which he's done on other Assault maps, and Volskaya very famous for Sombra just with the amount of health packs that are around the objectives and how important that is for teams. But then American Tornado, not so great on Volskaya too. They were kind of on a losing streak on that particular map up until the losers finals against Odyssey, where they figured out what was wrong, and it was the Reiner Roadhog that came out to deal with the Tracers. So maybe that again.
Interesting tweet there from Cameron, Scotland's premier Overwatch player. Of course, Cameron was never actually on a team with Iced. Cameron was on a team with his twin, Papaya Pete 57. Although it's a contentious debate between North American Overwatch fans as to who is better out of Iced and Papaya Pete 57. Personally, I'm more Team Pete myself. American Tornado going to be starting off here on the offense, and once again going to be showing that Roadhog. Dark Mode have not opted into the Ana to try and play against it.
Well, Tracer v Tracer. That duel's going on the left side. Reiner's looking for a first hook with only a Shield of Sigma, though. You don't want to spend too long in these poke wars, at least, especially not with some safe cover around. But Darkwood actually flanking behind the offensive American Tornado, who are maybe trying to stick around there to wait for a first pick, wait for their shields to regenerate, and now both Tracers have been removed, but American Tornado have more support, and Reiner, he's going fishing.
I like how Reiner is essentially playing the same angle as Hydron, which is kind of interesting, because obviously Hydron as a Tracer only has 150 HP, and maybe when he falls low, someone might go out my door thinking, I'm going to kill myself a Hydron, and then you round that corner, and Reiner's just like, yo, how's it going? I'm waiting here with a hook. The old bait and switch. Did manage to catch Aspire with a nice flick there midway through the shot.
Oh, no.
And they are going to be spotted out here by Aspire, so they're going to have to abandon their their trip into the Mordor. Love to see what American Tornado's approach will be here, as they've got that reassuringly weighted time bank of 6 minutes to try and break Volskaya B, but this is a great place for Aspire. This is where he can operate with relative safety.
Gig has to find a moment to use his pile driver to maybe line up the pins for Aspire to knock down, but it's kind of hard to do that on the defense when you also want some point presence. There's a Tracer duel between Hydron and Uneasy, and I think that didn't go down right for Hydron. He's still alive. I think he found a Mega, found some healing as Reiner sneaks around the back, and that's some very dangerous close range damage, and Gig gets out of there quite quickly. Hydron's still dealing with the Tracer duel, so couldn't go and finish off Gig for his team, but American Tornado have started their rally. They're actually on the point. Gravitic Flux from Boogers, Transcendence from Ultraviolet will counter this, and at least a tick is being earned from American Tornado, and maybe even a second with this whole hog, quite literally pushing everyone, even the Transcendence off the point. Dark Mode still manages to touch, deny maybe that second tick for now, but even with respawn advantage, they're having a hard time killing American Tornado.
Reiner going big here. About that Transcendence contest, I have some notes about that Bob contest. I have some more notes about that one. A Spy goes down, Bob on Bob action, not going the way of the defenders. Reiner's still alive, Provide is not. What has gone on here? He's going fishing, they're looking for a Spire, but still attrition in the favor of Dark Mode. False remains, but will they stay alive for long?
Ooh, at least you got 2 ticks. False is killing stuff, but maybe just for his Gravitic Flux. Well, there's nobody from American Tornado left. I guess they're still getting back, so this is very scrappy, but also that Bob from Ice got a lot more value because False placed his shield right in front of it, so Dark Mode had to break the shield before they could get the Bob.
False loves pocketing a Bob. Gummy tactic, but it works. I ain't gonna pull punches on that one, Lemon. Hydron has the bomb ready to go, but what can set it up? Not too much. It's going to be relying mostly on Hydron's mechanical skill to get it done. Unless, of course, you want to try and hook in the ball and then stick him to try and guarantee the kill.
Yeah, somebody get me some healing, says Ice, and Hydron is like, well, somebody let me attach this pulse bomb to you. Oh, the coach gun from Aspire barely dodges that. You still have to worry about where Hydron is going to next. You got a whole hog from Reiner coming online soon, and I think once this fight takes place on the point of... This is gonna shred a lot of people, and that's getting flying off the map. American Tornado on the point, and the team wipe follows up. 3 minutes and 3 seconds for American Tornado with the leftover ultimates.
Man, whole hog, what an ultimate if you want to just absolutely ruin the day of an enemy tank. Ig went to find out some newly undiscovered areas of Volskaya towards the back, making friends with a couple of very large Omnic-destroying battle droids. The Trade Federation would be proud on Soul's Day. Oh my goodness, what a pace for American Tornado. And remember, they're on match point. They're on tournament point. This is where American Tornado, the winners of Gauntlet in 2020, the winners of our show match against British Hurricane, a team that became the London Spitfire. This is where they are at the steps before the throne. The crown is ready to descend back upon this Tornado's head. All they need to do is defend.
And this was after Dark Mode were the ones that struck American Tornado down into the lower bracket to fight their way back to this moment. So Konomi's absolutely right that American Tornado are done playing around. To take a final 4-0 would just be an insane statement after they've had to replace players, after they've had to kind of change the way they play them. I mean, they're playing Roadhog, for God's sakes. Like, American Tornado played their game.
Roadhog on first on the defense now. This is kind of different. Before, Reiner up against Odyssey was playing the defensive Wrecking Ball. But one of the interesting things that we've got to know about this Roadhog is also that it's a lot more self-sufficient than a Wrecking Ball. It does have the Take a Breather, and that means that you can get away with the lesser healing that the Brigitte and the Zenyatta offer.
Darkma moving through that left side. Hydron's gonna get that scout, the recall. Oh, he's 1 HP, gets an armor pack just in time, but that would have been a critical first pick. So Dark Mode's still stuck on that left side, waiting for Geek to break on out, and he's actually pretty low, so he doesn't want to go adventuring anytime soon as American Tornado backed off towards that point. Tracer 1v1, Hydron forces out the recall, still has his uneasy on the back foot of that. Meanwhile, Dark Mode have started to traverse towards that top left, and Provide is at the end of that road. So Dark Mode have a little bit less damage, a little bit less healing, not the end of the world, but when Gig's probably off on his own and you don't have Provide, it's not gonna look too good.
Gotta be careful about those Roadhog flanks. He moves fast for a big guy. Always is surprising when you got a 600 HP flanker in the back. Okay, they are going to swap over onto a classic rush right here. Not very much dark mode style, but it likely will work out. The plan here, I imagine, is to overrun false, and then ultraviolet will be your secondary target. They can't out-rotate you because they don't have the speed.
Reiner has 1 death, by the way.
He's good at Overwatch.
He's good at living, and apparently. So dark mode to the top right side. Hook doesn't connect, and this might be a window of opportunity as a pulse bomb from Hydra made a huge impact in the backline. As dark mode still look to go towards that point, the Transcendence is forced from Ultraviolet. American Tornado up 6 versus 4 after those 2 picks, and false Gravitic Flux to end this once and for all. Hydron, oh boy, with the 3K, make it. Oh, okay, Rhino steals that for the 4th one, but still. Pretty good job.
Hydron also opened up this match by sticking a Spire, or rather opened up that fight, and now is 90% to the next Pulse Bomb. He's been doing a lot of work on this Tracer. And that Pulse Bomb is important because it means you can force out the Immortality Field first, and then what's going to keep Dark Mode alive when they're faced with the surround sound damage of this composition. Hydron sees them all moving together. Oh, it's for Jackpot. It's for Jackpot, Lemon.
He's done this, but he did this last fight. No one seems to care about Hydron. I think they made that mistake on King's Road too. I think everyone tried to erase that from their memory. It's a stick! Immortality in time for Provide. Now Dark Mode can play off this Amp Matrix. It's the only ultimate they have. Shield stays up. Hook doesn't land. Now Provide picked off by Hydron. How does that happen? You have healing, you have immortality, you have all these things. But Dark Mode playing 360 around the point and not touching it, I guess. 1 minute left. They're going to have to. American Tornado are full of ultimates and one last chance to defend.
Now you're working on phase 2 of a battle plan. If they start to out-rotate you, if they start being able to close the distance, that's when you lead them towards Reiner, and he uses the whole hog to re-establish the difference and the distance that you want between yourself and the enemy. That is not a great window. What was that? You guys see that? What is that? It's just invisible. He's got the cloak on. I'm not sure, but Dark Mode, 39 seconds left. That block Provide first again. Even after the Blizzard thrown from Uneasy, not a single soul of American Tornado were frozen. And Reiner gets to go freely into the back line, and a hook like that is disgusting. And the finish onto the Baby Diva. Oh no, 20 seconds left. Dark Mode, you can't end it like this. You can't. This pig refuses to be roasted. Reiner is the one who knocks right now, doing so much damage, but Dark Mode have finally built up towards a sound barrier. They've built up towards a self-destruct as well, and they don't have much in the means of being able to stop it. They don't have an ammo field, Lemon.
Boogers, at least is there to touch. The entirety of Dark Mode are there for their final fight. Starts with the tick, but they need to go to point B if they want a chance. It's a Gravitic Flux from False. Countered by the Sound Bear of Horus. Booger still has to self-destruct. Is going to need it for his second life. Thrown up into the air. There's no much shields left from American Tornado, but the flankers are too strong. He got Reiner, and he got Hydron on the job. An ice block from Uneasy. He's left on his own. He's rocked off this planet by False, and Dark Mode are left in the dust. It's American Tornado with a 4-0 are your champions of North America.
It was a fluke, said OG, when they were knocked down to the lower bracket 3-1 by Dark Mode in a performance from Aspire that could only be described as dominating. But I'd use that exact same word here, Lemon. What a performance for American Tornado. They have been denied the crown. We are in the 5th month now of 2021. And after they claimed that 2020 gauntlet, things have not been as good as they once were for American Tornado, but now they are back on top. They mean business. Was False a downgrade before you could have said potentially? But now they've managed to actually win out against the off-tank that he had to replace. What a performance from False, especially playing essentially as a solo tank because you had an additional flanker in that Roadhog. A huge performance from a Canadian imposter amongst the American Tornado.
I mean, American Tornado from a Game 7 second place to a lower bracket run, which was caused by Dark Mode, to turn everything around and be your champions back on top, the crown back on their heads. But I also want to give, some excuse or some credibility to Dark Mode, because I guess before this final, they had someone stuck in a storm or something, and they had to think about incorporating a substitute player in, and I'm sure maybe scrims or warming up before this match got a little stressful or hectic or maybe even non-existent. And that's after American Tornado come off a 3-1 win of Odyssey. So there are circumstances where I'm not even sure if that was dark mode at their best, and I think we're going to have to settle that. We're going to have to prove that in our next month's tournament.
Yeah, when it comes to warm-ups, American Tornado getting to warm up against Odyssey was certainly one of the better ones that was available, because they did start that match kind of sleepy, but they evidently did not start this one sleepy at all, Lemon. And you're exactly right. Dark Mode, not the kind of team that are going to take this lying down. They're called Dark Mode for a reason. They've got that dark side. They hunger for revenge, and you are going to want to see their quest for revenge, and you're going to want to catch the next tournament to do that. And the best way to do so is to subscribe to the channel and make sure that you hit the bell so that you are notified every time we go live. There it is. Thanks, production.
Hey, they listen. That's cool. Yeah, you guys should definitely subscribe. You get to just be notified for the next tournament. You keep up with all the cool highlights and cool content that Tier 2 has to offer by following OW Path to Pro. $15,000 for American Tornado. I think we will still have a post-game interview to hear about all the successes, the challenges, and how American Tornado had been able to vanquish those right after this break. Welcome back, everybody, to the post-game interview with one of our champions from American Tornado. We'll be Hydra, the hit scan specialist, but not just a winner-one trick anymore, man. How you been?
I'm good. I'm chilling. Feels good right now.
I've got to straight away ask you about what was it like for you to pick up the Hangzhou in this matchup, because we know that the hit scan matchup didn't go great yesterday, and while it's not particularly hit scan, you definitely showed some real metal on King's Row with the Hangzhou.
So yesterday I just played it wrong. Like, we VOD reviewed it and I just played the map wrong. And then Reach told me what to do, like how to fix it, and I fixed it. It worked.
Yeah, you fixed it all right, especially on King's Row, where it felt like you were just uncontested for so long at the point B high ground, and it was kind of the high-drawn show. So I heard there was some like spicy talk between you and Dark Mode, or you and Sam and Aspire. What's that all about?
Yeah, so we lost yesterday, and then like Kaluge or Boogers and Snot hops in voice, and he's talking real hot, you know, the stuff he does, and then he told him like better enjoy his moment because it's coming to an end. So that's what happened.
Speaking of which, you've got the largest microphone right now to potentially answer Boogers and Snot. Do you have an answer, or was your gameplay enough?
What do you mean?
In terms of answering his trash talk?
Oh, no, I mean, I just talked with my play, so it's all good. He was talking. You know, we lost. He said scrimbox, and we proved it, so.
This match was really fun to watch. I'm really curious about how Rush has incorporated more Hangzhou, incorporated more Sigma. Could you explain to the viewers kind of why that's worked out for your team and other teams, especially in this tournament?
So, even though Kree's broken, Hangzhou's just more broken because the hero is just so like OP, and then Sigma is still good because they buff Sigma a little bit, and it's better, I think, at this point, because depends on how good your Sigma and Hangzhou plays, is just hard carry every time.
Gotcha.
I want to quickly ask about with how you guys are set up as a team. You guys were coming off a losers bracket match against Odyssey, which is actually the only one in which you dropped a map today. What's the team atmosphere like after that final against Odyssey coming into this matchup?
So like yesterday, we were trying too hard. We realized like when we scrim, like we always win scrims. Like doesn't matter who, Contenders out teams. We just played like we didn't scrims. We just chill out. Didn't try that hard like in comms. We were just like relaxed. We just won.
Is that why you guys solo fluxed Boogers and Snot at the end of Odyssey?
Yeah, I mean, like he had it coming, so.
You do a little trolling. You do just a little trolling.
Yeah, a little bit.
I remember seeing a Reiner Shatter at one point for like 0 race with like the OGB to Reiner Shatter, stuff like that. But I hear that there's some family watching. Do you have any shout outs to how they've been able to support you through all of this?
Yeah, I got my parents watching in the living room, and then I got my uncles and aunts and grandparents down there watching in Texas, so shout out to them for watching every game.
Oh, that's amazing. It's wonderful to have such supportive families supporting all of our young contenders, including champions like you, Hydron. Does it mean anything to American Tornado, sort of like as a group, to finally get this title back? So it feels like it's been a hard couple months for AT.
Yeah, I mean, we should always we should have won last month, but things happen, it's whatever. And so we're just getting used to winning again every month, like last season.
For sure. Thank you so much for the interview, and a big congratulations to you and the team with a 4-0 grand final win. That's actually crazy. $15,000. You guys popped off, so go enjoy the rest of your night.
Appreciate it. Thank you guys. Have a good night.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Hydron, Hitscan DPS, an all-round superstar for American Tornado, our champions for North America here in our April tournament. Let's have a quick look at how they got there by bringing up our brackets so you guys can remember how this went down. And American Tornado, yesterday, we wondered, was John Spector's influence on the script demanding all of the upsets trickling down to North America? But unfortunately, John did run out of power just before our grand finals here, so American Tornado reclaimed their title and are going to be moving into our next tournament, which will be in June as our first seed.
Yeah, and that also means that the bottom 4 teams of each region have to fight back into trials. And speaking of which, Open Division and trials will be taking place during these next few weeks, few months. So you can go and maybe, if signups are even open, OW Path to Pro, I don't keep up with all the times, but you can going following their social media. So it will be kind of a break until we finish up Open Division. We crown our trials champions to see who will be moving on and joining the remaining 4 teams of this bracket.
Yeah, we've got to figure out who's going to be the fresh new blood, because of course that's why we're all here, supporting Tier 2 to see who is going to be the Overwatch League star of tomorrow. So you can invest early, make sure you're getting some good returns on your Scrimbucks. I'm sure most of you are holding along on American Tornado, but there are so many other regions you can look to make sure that you have the complete picture when it comes to the greatest rookies in Overwatch. You can get that by subscribing to the Overwatch Contenders channel here on YouTube and ringing that bell so you get notified every time things go live. Korea and China are looking incredibly tight this time, so you're going to want to make sure you don't miss those either.
Yeah, so congratulations again to American Tornado and also to Dark Mode for just, I mean, that's the only series they lost thus far. And shout out to Monkey Bubble, Hirix, Vicky, Trid, and Nekra, and the entire team of Tier 2 for making this happen. And you, chat, for sticking through all the matches with us. We hope you'll join us for our next tournament. Go and follow the social media and all that business so you know when that is. That's all we have for you guys. Have a great rest of your day.